tomorrow. First, we'll talk wind warnings from the National Weather Service. Hurricane warnings extended from Greenville to Goldsboro on down into Bladen County. Wind speeds in those counties could go 74 miles an hour or greater. We have tropical storm warnings that extend all the way up into Franklin County, Wake, and Chatham County, and then points south. That includes Raleigh. Those areas could see 39 to 74 miles an hour winds. These are the latest wind gusts in the last 15 minutes, getting back up around 50. We had a wind gust reported of 55 at Fort Bragg at Pope Airfield. Down to 49 now, but we'll see these increasing throughout the day. Highest wind gust so far out at RDU is 39. Last check, we had a wind gust 35 miles an hour and up near 40 in Smithfield. Other wind gusts coming to us from around the region. Fort Bragg at 55. Benson there in eastern Harnett County had a 46 mile an hour wind gust. Smithfield had a 40 mile an hour wind gust. These are from overnight. Sanford, Lee County 38 miles an hour, 33 miles an hour in Rayford, Raleigh at 32, and Durham at 32. Now, the wind speeds on our buoys have gone down significantly. That does show some weakening in the storm as far as the wind fields go. We saw these at 90 miles an hour around 3, 4 o'clock this morning. Now we're about 5 hours later and we're seeing them drop to 60 miles an hour along the buoys, 58 as we look up on the coast. That flash flood watch, we started with the warning, we'll end with the watch and warning here as well. Flash flood warnings again, Sampson County, you're until 1:15. Wayne County, Wilson County, you're until 2 o'clock this afternoon. I do anticipate those being extended as we get more and more rain, but flash flooding can occur now in those counties. So if you live near a flood-prone area in Sampson County, Wayne County, or Wilson, you need to get to higher ground immediately. This is not a watch anymore. This means it is happening and will happen in the next 1 to 4 hours. So get to someplace safe if you're in a lower area in Wayne County, Wilson County, and Sampson County. This is number 1 weather killer in the United States is heat. The number 2 weather killer, flooding. So more than tornadoes, more than the high winds. If you're in these 3 counties, this is a dangerous situation. You need to watch out and get to higher ground. Flash flood watch is all of the green counties, all of those green counties under a flash flood watch that runs through Sunday. And remember, a watch means we're watching the situation. A warning means it's happening and you need to take action immediately. I would not be surprised to see more counties going under warnings over the next couple of hours as this rainfall intensifies.
Just what we need, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just the start of it. I know folks might be waking up going, well, it doesn't look that bad outside, especially if it's just rained a little bit, winds are a little gusty. This is just starting for some people and will continue all day long and possibly into the nighttime hours, depending on where you are.
Yeah, and a lot of people on the coast need your thoughts and prayers.
Absolutely.
They're going through it.
Yep.
Thank you, Don.
Sure.
All right, let's go back to our Bridget Condon. She has been reporting from the Operations Center, and you have a spokesperson for the National Guard there with you right now, Bridget.
Yeah, this is Major General Greg Lusk. So talk to us about what you guys have done this week and really today. You're super busy. We just grabbed you real quick here. So what's the process of how you guys are dealing with Hurricane Florence?
Well, you got to remember the first thing we have to do is obviously try to get everything pre-positioned and identifying the types of resources, the types of men and women that we need to put into position before the storm hit. Was just a real quite an exercise in imagination, if you will, just trying to anticipate what might happen. So calling them on board, getting them to the report to their armories, getting them out to locations where they'd already been requested was all that we have done up to this date, and it's been quite busy.
So how many people did you guys bring here?
Across the entire state. This has been an unprecedented call up before landfall that I've experienced. Been doing this for almost 4 decades now, and I never have seen before that we've had almost over 2,800 people have actually been on duty prior to landfall.
So has it been helpful for you guys to have more preparation because this thing is so slow?
Oh, absolutely. And then, of course, if you just recall what it was 2 days ago, it was going to be a Category 3 or 4 coming right through the middle of North Carolina. We've had a little shift in that, but I think that even with the positioning of some of our guardsmen across the state, we're very able to respond across the state because we know it's going to be a statewide event all the way to the mountains before it's over with.
Where are most of your responders, would you say, right now? Are they in New Bern?
Okay, so we have 2 different parts of our force. So we have some that are already assigned to mission. They're really assigned to the North Carolina Emergency Management Eastern Branch, Kinston. So they're already assigned out in counties, New Bern and all along the coast right now, about 500. About 2,000 more are pre-positioned back in armories across the state, starting from the west of I-95 and heading towards the mountains. So they're getting all their gear and all their equipment ready so that they can indeed respond as quickly as possible as soon as the storm lifts.
So for you guys here at the EOC, what are you guys doing today?
Well, today is, again, we're continuing just to cross-check things, particularly as we have time for the units in the West and anticipating what those needs may be, coordinating with our fellow South Carolinians as well, too, understanding that the storm is heading their way. So a lot of coordination, a lot of talk, a lot of getting visibility on some of the assets that the Department of Defense and the Army and the other services are kind of positioning around the southeastern part of the state so that if indeed we need them, we know where we can reach out to and get them.
And then you just mentioned that you've been through this a lot of times, been in many situations like this, been in many hurricanes. Right here in the Triangle, we're not experiencing, as bad as they are in Wilmington or New Bern. Would you, recommend people still stay on high alert?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, stay on high alert. And unfortunately, we just recall back in Matthew where we really had gotten through the brunt of the storm relatively unscathed. Unfortunately, there was loss of life during the actual hurricane itself, but it was the flooding afterwards, and that ensued for weeks after the hurricane had lifted. So we're a long way from being finished there, and everybody needs to maintain vigilance and keep their eyes on everything. Floodwaters will rise because this rain will go back into the creeks and the river basins and work its way across the state.
And then do you have a plan on how long that 2,800 members will be in the state of North Carolina, or is it just kind of dependent on the, effects of the hurricane?
Okay. Well, the 2,800 people are indeed North Carolina National Guardsmen, so citizen soldiers and citizen airmen, people that live in the state that have a vested interest because it's this neighbors, families, this loved ones, it's their communities that they're leaving behind in order to answer the call. So they're going to be here. They're committed and they're vested in the interest of how this is going to turn out. So they'll be here as long as it takes. We obviously will be humane. We have a pretty sizable force in the North Carolina National Guard, and we have partners with the rest of the Army and the Marines and everybody else that's a resident of North Carolina as well. Anticipating that we have a lot of need and a lot of work to be done, we have an awful lot of people that know that we can count on to join in and help get the work done.
Well, thank you guys so much, and I know that everyone at home is very thankful of the work you guys are doing in keeping everyone safe, so thank you so much. And we're going to, again, hear from Governor Roy Cooper at 11 o'clock here. For now, we'll send it back to you guys.
Bridget, thank you.
And this word from ABC News meteorologist Rob Marciano. 30 inches of rainfall totaling at Atlantic Beach. That's now the most rainfall ever recorded from a tropical cyclone in North Carolina. The previous was Floyd, 24 inches in 1999. So now 30 inches reported at Atlantic Beach.
This Category 1 that so many people were relieved to see the category downgrade, but it's still a major storm. Let's go to Derek Waller. He is live for us in Jacksonville right now. Derek, what is the situation like for you?
Yeah, we do have that heavy wind and rain here in Jacksonville. I got to tell you that we're getting a little bit of a gust right now. We are blocked by a four-story building, though. So the wind right here is not nearly as bad as it is around the corner. I'll show you up here, though.
Sorry about that. Having a hard time hearing Derek. He is live for us in Jacksonville, and you can see the situation there. Like much of other areas, it's a lot of wind and a lot of rain.
We continue to follow the situation. The hurricane's eye officially made landfall at 7:15 this morning at Wrightsville Beach, but this thing is so big, that's really a distinction without a difference, how large it is.
No doubt about that. Anthony Wilson standing by live. He's near Crabtree Creek with the latest from the Raleigh area. Anthony?
Big contrast here from what you saw where Derek Waller was trying to get his report in. With all that wind, you couldn't hear him, but we got a little breeze here. I wouldn't even call it wind. Let's take a look up here, Jeff Hinkle, and show them that it's enough to make the trees move, of course, because I want to show that. That's when it stops. But before we went live, there's the movement we were trying to get. There's a little bit of a breeze. And go to screen right there, Jeff. Again, we have what you would call a bit of wind. Nothing like what we've been showing you so far. However, because we are beside Crabtree Creek, we want to remind you once again that things can get really ugly here quickly. Now that the sun is up, you can see the water. You can see how far below the level where we are it is flowing, but bear in mind that when we do get, and we will get according to the meteorologists, when we get that real rough weather, when the wind goes up, when the rain is falling, and this creek begins to rise, we're going to have some problems. We have some video we shot earlier over at Crabtree Valley Mall to show you the preparations they're making over there. That is because at Crabtree Valley Mall, people who have parked there when it's been a lot of rain know very well if you're in the wrong part of the lot, your car or your vehicle could be underwater. And that is why they took some precautions, some extra precautions, to make sure that at least the stores and the banks and other places that were near a place where water could get in are at least fortified. They are hoping by putting these precautions into place that the valuables, the things that probably can't afford to be hit by water, are at least kept relatively dry. That is the plan. Now we'll find out what happens when the rain actually comes down. So again, here's the creek, looking at the creek now. Looks calm, but don't be fooled. We are told that because the storm has made landfall and it is beginning to move to the west, there is still a possibility that we'll get that rough weather that you've been seeing. Maybe not the degree we've been seeing all the way over on the coast, but certainly enough to concern people. So although we have seen people out here jogging, walking dogs, this might be the time to do it. Later this afternoon, when all the bad weather comes a little closer, you don't want to be out here. And again, you want to watch out for the level of Crabtree Creek. We're live in Raleigh. Anthony Wilson, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.
All right, Anthony, thank you.
Well, let's go to Fayetteville now, where it's 76 degrees and raining. Morgan Norwood standing by there. Morgan?
Yeah, good morning, John. We're starting to get all of the elements here. A little bit of wind gusts, rain, no flooding just yet, but I can imagine that that will begin soon within the next couple of days, since we've been talking about some heavy rainfall that is supposed to take place. I'm here off of Yakin Road. There's a small creek here. I was talking to Bob G., our photographer, earlier. Typically, we do live shots from here in the snow. You know, this bridge typically ices over, but this is what we're concerned about, this creek here, flooding, all this runoff water going to be taking over some roadways and streets here pretty soon, I would imagine, over the next couple of days. You can see the rainfall coming down really here. It's been pretty much quiet here on this side of town. Not many cars on the roads. Traffic has been pretty clear, and that's what we want to see. We're actually camped out here at the Speedway off of Yakin Road, and as you can see, they are without gas. I mean, this is pretty interesting to me. I've seen them do like the plastic over the guzzles here, but they're serious. No gas. You're not getting where you need to go. You know, you should have made your preparations earlier if you could. So that's the situation that we're seeing here today. So yeah, as we've been talking about, the rain steady coming down. We're not seeing as much wind as we saw. It's just been coming in and out with intervals. There we go. And so we're going to keep an update for you on these conditions, both on air and online. We're going to go ahead and send it back over to you, but things pretty quiet here over on Yakin Road.
All right. Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you, Morgan. I want to show you some video from the course of the storm as we have been getting reports. This is hours ago, obviously, but this is New Bern. The extensive flooding there, homes, apartments underwater. You've heard numerous people that we've interviewed talking about neighborhoods underwater, people who've had to go to their roofs, their attics to wait to be rescued, and there are people still waiting to be rescued in the New Bern area.
Some more video now. With the flooding often comes this situation, house fires. This also in the New Bern area. We don't believe anybody was hurt with this fire, but it is pretty dramatic video nonetheless.
And again, the entire city of New Bern is without power. Look at this. This is video of a gas station awning in Wilmington. You see what happened in the winds there. The awning just came toppling down on top of some of those gas pumps there.
That's at least the second gas station we've seen like that so far today. Damage inside White Oak High School in Jacksonville now. And you see what that looks like. Water seeping in through the ceiling there and some of the equipment around. This is just one of many structures that are going to be having to clean up when this is all said and done, and we're just really getting started.
And we would like to see your video if you can send it to us safely. We'd love to see what the conditions are where you are. Just be safe before you go out and take those pictures and send them to us. Use the hashtag ABC11. All right. All right, Donna's back with us now, and you've got more information about what Florence is doing.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some huge rainfall totals. Looking at some of the Doppler radar estimates, up to 10 inches of rain so far down south and continuing to fall heavy. We also have warnings to pass along now. Flash flood warning in effect for Wilson County and Wayne County. Remember, a flash flood warning means we are seeing flash flooding, and you need to take immediate steps, or you will be seeing that flash flooding in the next couple of hours. You need to get to someplace safe. If you live in a flood-prone area and you're in Wilson and you're in Goldsboro, you need to get to higher ground now. This is not a, well, I'll wait and see if the water comes up. If you know it floods in your area, get out. Let's go from there and go south into Sampson. Sampson County, from Clinton to Spivey's Corner on down to Garland. You're under a flash flood warning as well, and that runs for the next 3 hours. Well, 2 hours, 45 minutes until 1:15 this afternoon. We have a tornado watch in effect for our area. You can see down south in the watch area as you get toward the coast, toward Jackson, they actually have a tornado warning down there. And inside these little pockets of precipitation that rotate around this storm, that's where you see the chance of some of those little pieces just spinning and firing up a tornado. And unfortunately, this happens a lot with tropical storms as they come on shore. That's why this tornado watch remains in effect from now for about the next 8.5 hours until 5 o'clock tonight for the eastern half of the viewing area. Here's the eye wall as it came on shore this morning. And this is the latest radar picture coming to us out of there. And you can see coming on shore right around Wrightsville Beach. Now the eye is drifting south. Actually, Carolina Beach is in the eye right now. They're seeing tranquil conditions down there. Zoom it out though on the western side. Whoa, they're getting hammered with heavy rainfall now in Wilmington and then south and west of Wilmington. Some dry slots actually working through up the coast as you get up past Topsail and on up toward Atlantic. Around our area, we've got a heavy band of rain showers working through right now. You know what? I'm going to show you some new technology. Let me step off here real quick. So this is our Doppler radar. You can see where the rainfall is. Now we're going to use what's called the radar rain scope. So I'm going to open up this kind of like magnifying glass, and it takes away all the let's stop this so it's moving around. This takes away all the radar, all the outside stuff, and shows where the heavy rain is. Look at the rainfall in Wilson County right now. See if I can zoom down in on that area. And you can see in Wilson County that heavy rainfall rate in southern Wilson County as you get toward Eureka. Boy, that is just showing some very heavy rainfall in that region. And we're going to use this scope and we're going to move it around. And as we go toward Brogden, Smithfield, we're seeing those heavier rain showers work through those areas as well. As far as the rainfall rates, let's show you how hard it's raining. And our radar is estimating 2 inches per hour in those areas. 2 inches of rain per hour is an extreme amount of rainfall, and that's why they have those flash flood warnings as that's moving through. So there's a little bit of our scope showing you where the heaviest rainfall is right now. We zoom down to the south toward Bentonville and Dunn, put this back into motion. This is tracking off to the south and west. So Harnett County and Johnston County, you're in some heavy rainfall, 1 to 2 inch rain per hour category. That is a ton of rain falling, and unfortunately it could continue for a while. Tropical winds, this is our forecast for the radius around the storm. The red part indicates the area that would see hurricane force winds. The yellow part indicates tropical storm force winds. And we'll see that pressing off to the south. We see the golden area up here, this yellow area. Those are tropical winds. Those things could stick around in the Raleigh area. This is 8 o'clock tonight. Still seeing 40-plus-mile-an-hour winds. Still seeing 70-mile-an-hour winds down along the coast. By tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., we're seeing this press out of Wake County. I think tomorrow winds will begin to die down from the triangle north, and we'll see that slowly pressing south throughout the day. I think by tomorrow evening, wind is really not a concern anymore as that's pulling away. Still maybe in the Sandhills. I think the bigger story will still be rain tomorrow because it's going to rain all day long today into tomorrow. Latest update as of 8 a.m. from the National Hurricane Center. Florence, 90-mile-per-hour winds 10 miles south of Wilmington, tracking west through Myrtle Beach into South Carolina and then toward Columbia, South Carolina, before pulling up through the Appalachian Mountains, crossing over, and then going up toward Pittsburgh as we head toward Monday. All of the models in agreement where this thing goes through about tomorrow. Then some of them are trending more into the south and west, and I would not be surprised if they adjust this track. It'll come out at 11 o'clock. They could adjust that track off to the west a little bit with that system. Our in-house model shows this system working through, continuing to throw these pockets of rain at us. This is 6 o'clock tonight. We've got the showers in. Those showers will continue overnight. We'll see those showers going until tomorrow morning, 4 a.m. Some of the rain shutting off in the northern counties, but we've still got rain Saturday making its way north into the triangle. That heavy rain down south, the potential for feet of rain, not inches of rain. And because of that, that flash flood watch watch in effect. We have tropical storm warnings in effect from Tarboro down to Pinehurst. We have a hurricane warning in effect from Goldsboro down to Bladen County. And looking at our latest wind speeds coming in, upper 40s, 48 miles an hour wind gusts in the past 15 minutes out of Fayetteville, 22 miles per hour in Roxboro. We've been watching roads as well as social media. Kim Diener doing double duty this morning. We're going to check in with her with the latest on first alert traffic and what you might be seeing around the region. We have had some accidents throughout the morning, so we'll go to her for more and first alert traffic.
As look at just the Dawn's map still up before I walk into the screen. You see he's been talking about wind gusts. Now wind gusts at RDU only 35 miles an hour within the last couple of hours. So what you're going to notice as we move throughout the next couple of days, possibly, at least in the next 24 hours, we're going to continue to see our wind gusts get higher and we're going to get heavier rain. So some of the problems that many viewers east of the triangle are dealing with right now are going to become a part of our problem. So right now out on the roadways, it's just wet. We have trees down, but no trees down on any major intersections. So right now we're just getting reports of trees down in from homes and side roads. So right now nothing blocking any of your travel plans. What you are going to want to notice is we're starting to see a lot of green and blue showing up. This is our weather index. It just lets me know whether we've got ice on the ground, ponding on the roads are wet, and so the green indicating that it's raining. So we've got the rain out there, you know that if you've looked out your window. But if you live in Selma into Smithfield, really almost all of Johnston County right now, from Selma south and east, heavy rain. And that heavy rain, Dawn showed you on the radar, those heavy rain bands beginning to make their way east, and as a result, as a result, ponding on the road is going to make it even harder to get around. So if it's raining really hard where you live, you can expect ponding on the road, and we'll start to see that minor flooding on the roadways. And you know, you just cannot drive on flooded roads. You don't know what's underneath those flooded roads. It only takes 6 inches of rain on the road or flooding on the road to stall your vehicle, up to 18 to 24 inches to move an SUV. So you just want to avoid that at all costs, and we'll be, of course, keeping you up to date on the roads that are flooded when that does become a problem. Right now we're really just seeing ponding on the roads, wet conditions even down into Goldsboro, and that's going to be the biggest threat. Once the winds pick up, we're going to have to deal with power lines that are possibly down, especially down in the Cumberland County area and Sampson County as well as Johnston County, where we're seeing the heaviest rains and the highest winds. So of course we're going to keep you up to date on that, Barbara and John, as it develops. Right now, getting from point A to point B anywhere in the triangle, not necessarily an issue because of Florence, and a lot of folks just not on the roads. They're at home and they're safe right now, and they're heating mornings, and they're just watching us and enjoying the family life until something becomes a problem later on this evening and tomorrow. And of course, we're going to continue to watch that as we move throughout the morning. Back to you guys.
Yeah, stay home if you can.
Yes.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim. All right, you may have heard about this. It's called the Waffle House Index. The FEMA, informally uses this to monitor hurricanes on the ground because the Waffle House, they are proud to say that their 1,500 locations are open 24/7, 365 days a year. And if one closes, it's probably in an area where you don't want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Gloria is at a Waffle House in Lumberton right now. Gloria Rodriguez, where you can get it, what, scattered and smothered and covered in chunks.
You know, John, Barbara, you can't get everything that you want right now because they do have the emergency menu in effect. So check it out. You can choose from a few items. They have sandwiches, breakfast sandwiches, hash browns, but you can't choose from the full menu. But as you mentioned, yes, they do only close when it is something severe. So this is a good indicator. Things are okay right now here in Lumberton. We've seen some rain, some wind, but nothing too dramatic. So that is some good news. You'll see some folks here enjoying breakfast this morning. And we did see quite a few people earlier as well. Also some state highway patrol officers, some troopers were here earlier who were getting ready to go out there onto the roads and really monitor the situation. And I've had a chance to meet a lot of people out here who are enjoying breakfast, either live in Lumberton or like these two men here, they actually came here to find safety from the storm. What's your name?
My name is Curtis Bryant.
And Curtis, you were telling me that you live in Wilmington. So can you tell me why you decided to come to Lumberton?
Well, because we wanted to get off the coast with all that rain and wind down there. So.
And how is it different being here in Lumberton compared to what you're seeing from Wilmington?
Well, further away from the storm making landfall. Got a lot of flooding down there.
And you know, I'm not sure if you knew this, but they did have a lot of flooding during the last hurricane, Hurricane Matthew. They had a lot of flooding here in Lumberton. Are you concerned about that?
Not really. I'm stuck here now.
And how's your breakfast?
It's okay. It's okay.
Having some good breakfast. So the Waffle House is open. Everything is good. And are you also from Wilmington area?
Together. We stand at the Lumberton Inn together up here. So we came up together. Brought our families up.
How are you feeling knowing everything that's going on in Wilmington right now with all the winds and the rain that they're getting, and knowing that right now you are okay here?
Well, I think we're going to be okay. We're just watching the water to see how high the water's going to rise. If it starts getting too high, then we'll probably have to pack up and move a little bit further. But I just wanted to get away from the strong winds off the coast.
Are you
deal with the water versus the strong winds?
Yeah. Are you concerned about your home at all?
Well, we have insurance on it, and it's God's will. Just if it's standing when we get back, you know, we'll be blessed. But I just deal with that when we get back.
Good perspective there. Thank you so much for talking to us. So they both, as I mentioned, they are here from Wilmington, but I have to talk to several people who live in Lumberton who say they were actually flooded out during Hurricane Matthew. We have the manager over here that we're going to talk to, Susanna Dial. And Susanna, we were talking a little bit earlier that during Hurricane Matthew, you all stayed open through that as well. Can you tell me a little bit about what that was like?
It was hard. Everybody, we was trying to feed the community. Everybody was out of power, lights, water. And we was here, we was thankful that we could be open to serve the community.
And how are you feeling now knowing that Hurricane Florence could impact the community again?
Again, we're just here to serve the community.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Appreciate your time. And we remember Lumberton basically underwater during Hurricane Matthew. We're expecting possibly up to 20 inches of rain from Hurricane Florence here in Lumberton. So we are going to stay out here. We'll monitor the situation, and we're certainly hoping that things don't get that bad. John, Barbara?
Gloria Rodriguez live in Lumberton for us at the Waffle House, and that's a good sign. If the Waffle House is open during a hurricane, you're probably in pretty decent shape.
Yes, well, we wish we could say the same thing for New Bern right now, but New Bern is not in very good shape. Joining us on the telephone is Mayor Dana Outlaw of the city of New Bern. Mr. Mayor, tell us what the situation is there like right now.
The situation is desperate enough that we did a 24-hour curfew. The winds are terrible, a lot of flooding, a lot of down power lines. The soil is saturated to the point the ground is that we're having a lot of trees blow over. Where our crews are out, we're actually in a water rescue mode right now. We probably have another 150 people to rescue. We've already rescued a couple of hundred residents. We're doing this to get them to safe shelters, and we have been, prior to this storm, out with our fire trucks, with PA systems, and we have had our recreation buses going behind, and the police department has been going door to door knocking to get folks to get in the bus and go out and get some shelter.
I can't imagine what it's like to see those people when you approach them and rescue them. Is everybody getting out safely? And what is it like when you come upon these homes and people on their roofs and attics waiting to get out?
Yeah, well, I tell you, between Facebook and our tech channel, Channel 3, and all the media, we did everything we could think to do to try to express to the residents how serious this storm is. A lot of folks have evacuated west of I-95. Some folks have gone into the shelters. We have 5 shelters. There's about 300 residents at each shelter. 3 of them are here in New Bern. So, again, we are going to continue to do rescue until we can get all 150 into some safe shelters.
Mayor Outlaw, we understand that your power has been out for some time there. What about your water system?
The water system is good. We have a relatively new plant, and the sewer, we have a few issues with our sewer because with power off, there are some pieces of equipment that are not operable. The water is great. We do have some sewer problems. The main thing is we have 22,000 customers on a New Bern electricity that are out of power. And we've got to wait until these winds subside. We can't get out in bucket trucks in this type of wind to do repairs. So we're trying to make sure that we rescue. We have a lot of folks coming from out of town to assist in the rescue efforts. And so it's going along really good, but at the same time, we're not going to stop till we get all 150 residents in a safe shelter.
Now, are any of the people that have been rescued in need of medical attention, and you're taking them to shelters? Is that where they're being taken?
Yes, we have that ability with EMS if somebody needs some medical assistance.
Okay.
All right, that is New Bern Mayor Dana Outlaw. Sir, we thank you for talking to us, and just know that so many folks are pulling for you and hoping for the best, and we can get those 150 people rescued that still need to be rescued there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, all right, as you saw those pictures there from downtown New Bern, 2 years ago it was Matthew where so much focus was on and Robeson County. Now it looks like it's going to be New Bern, and the storm is far from over.
Yeah, we want to see your pictures and your video, if it is safe to send it to us. So please, when you're out and about, we'd love to see what the situation is like where you are.
You can post them on the ABC11 Facebook page or use the hashtag ABC11 on social media. You can also email them to us at eyewitness@abc11.com, but please be safe before you take any pictures or video.
That's right, and remember, ABC11 is keeping you covered throughout this storm. In case of a power outage, you can find the latest on Hurricane Florence by downloading the ABC11 News and weather apps. We're also streaming live right now on abc11.com and the ABC11 Facebook and YouTube pages, and so make sure that your devices are charged. Now, if we start losing power here in the area, we will always be here. You can get the latest information from ABC11 when we simulcast on the radio.
Yeah, you'll hear us at K97.5, the big 95.7 WKML, Old School 107.7 Jams, the Big Stick Foxy 99, G105, B93.9 WRDU, Alt 95.3, and 106.1 FM.
All right, well, a lot of kids are out of school and hopefully people are staying home, but we still have some issues on the roads, Kim.
We do, Barbara, and it's amazing how one county just sitting home and just watching everything, those of us in Wake County, and then points east, just things are just falling apart. And that's what happens when storms make their way inland, and that's what we're seeing. We've started to see those rain bands now getting into Johnston County, Sampson County, and that's where we're seeing power lines down and trees down. So this is the first, this is actually a stalled vehicle at Robertson Street, but we do have power line down. Now we've got that. So it's Crowder Road, blocked between Rand Road and Ashwood Drive because of power lines down, and that's right off of 1010 Road in Wake County. So that's the first of many reports that we are going to see as we move through the next 24 hours. Now, if you're headed to RDU, they're saying that things are the same as they were this morning. So if you're flying United, there are limited flights out today, so you might want to check that out. JetBlue seeing limited flights. Delta's on a completely normal schedule. So if you fly Delta, no problems to report, but I'd still at least go to rdu.com and check it, or call your airline to make sure you're still on time. American Airlines limited. All other airlines, if you didn't see them and I didn't just let you know which ones that are limited, they're not having flights today. So Southwest not flying in and out of RDU today. They've canceled everything. TAC Air and Signature, both of these are private and they're working on a near normal schedule, so no problems to report there. So we'll continue to keep you updated on that information. Now we're going to take a look at some of the social media that's coming in from you guys this afternoon and this morning. Well, I guess it feels like afternoon since I've been up since 2 o'clock, but it is still morning. Steve Stewart just told me that a minute ago. Only little after 8 right now. So we've got a lot of power trucks out there and they're just waiting and ready to help keep the lights on. Thank you, Austin Man 18, for sending that picture in to us. And then we looked at the video board, and this is out of Topsail Beach. This was yesterday. This is not this morning. That, I hope, still looks the same after it's all said and done. But right now, that looking nice this morning. Let's see what a lot of you have to say. So we've got to just see some of our newer. This is the NWS. This is National Weather Service out of Morehead City. This is what it looked like before the sun came up. A lot of green on the roads, a lot of tree limbs. This is very typical for what you see during a hurricane, and so that's what they're seeing in Morehead City. And we also have Swan Quarter. Okay, you're not going to be able to see that one. I don't know why that's so black, but Swan Quarter, North Carolina has now lost power and it's completely black. Not surprising there. That's the eastern part of North Carolina. This is Morehead City from this morning. Let's put this into motion. I know you can't hear it, but you can see the rain, coming in horizontally and also at an angle. You always know the winds are blowing super hard when you see that rain coming in at angles. So we're going to continue to take a look at all of the tweets as well as the Facebook messages you send us. Email it. All you have to do is tag it ABC11 and it comes to us and we can put you on. We really do want to see what's happening outside your house right now. I mean, we're here in the studio. We've got reporters on the scene, but it's so wonderful to see what's happening in your backyard. So whether you live in Wake County, you're watching us from anywhere that you're being impacted by the hurricane, even if it means showing us some nice footage of your dogs just hanging out, that brings a little bit of lightness to a very heavy newscast this morning. Back to you guys.
That is the truth, Kim. Thank you.
All right, let's go back out to the coast now, because joining us on the telephone is Mayor John Davis of Swansboro. And Mayor Davis, tell us what the situation is there.
Good morning. Yeah, a lot of wind, a lot of rain at this time. We still can't allow our fire trucks out. We just now have allowed our police force to begin doing some patrols, and that'll be limited until things calm down. We hope to be able to get started as soon as this storm can move forward. If you guys could make this thing move a little faster, we appreciate your help there.
That would be nice. Hey, have you had any people in need of being rescued?
No, to my knowledge, we have not had any rescue requests. We have had some welfare checks. Hopefully, we're going to be able to do those here shortly now that we've been able to get the cars out on the road.
Now, Mayor, you're talking to us from the operations center there. You're in Onslow County, and there has been flooding in Onslow County before. How does this compare to what you've seen before?
Well, I mean, we were here during Matthew. I think the thing that has been the most surprising is just how quickly we lost power. The winds and the rain seem to be, for being here in Swansboro, seem to be pretty normal for a hurricane and of this size and strength. And I've been really impressed with the residents on how they're staying home and not getting out on the roads. So I think everybody's just holding up really well for this, again, for a hurricane this size and this duration. The duration, I think, is the hard part of this one, but I don't think we're seeing anything unusual at this point.
Yeah, it was just a waiting game, watching this storm and waiting for it to make landfall. Do you feel like you were very well prepared for this storm and your citizens?
Yeah, again, a lot of folks around here either chose to leave, which is always, a good option. You get out of harm's way. And then the folks that did choose to stay, a lot of those folks have dealt with hurricanes throughout their life. And everybody's pretty good at boarding up, getting to a safe place. And I feel like that our residents have just done made some really good choices so far. We haven't had any, to this point, any crazy calls where we had to put any of our staff or emergency personnel in harm's way. So I'm just very appreciative of our residents and how they're handling the storm.
All right, well, that is good news indeed. Hopefully it will stay relatively calm where you are. That is John Davis, the mayor of Swansboro in Onslow County.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right, meteorologist Steve Stewart here now.
All right, yeah, they had, the storm surge that moved into that area, like you said, what they expect with a storm this size, but the duration is the difference. It's just moving at 6 miles an hour.
And it's night and day in some areas, even within close proximity.
Yeah, we had 105-mile-an-hour wind gusts there at Wilmington, so that's the second strongest gust ever.
105?
105, yeah. I think the strongest was like 130 something a long time ago, but yeah, wow. Impressive. Yeah, let's get right to it and show you where the storm is as it's moving on shore. That's the flash flood watch. Actually, can we let's go to weather 1 if we could. Weather 1, and we'll show you, there we go, watching the storm. Get a little closer now, you can see moving onshore, incredible bands moving in. You can see some of those outer bands pushing through Fayetteville now, Kinston too, with very heavy rainfall at times. Winds at 90, we're right now looking at still a westward movement at 6. That's been consistent. That is way too slow. We'd like to see it speed up. That slow movement continues, and by around 2 o'clock tonight in the morning, we're going to see it just north of Myrtle Beach, and then continue more of a westward track. Eventually, it's going to bend to the north, potentially move through our mountains with heavy rain there, and then make it up near Columbus and Pittsburgh by the time we get to Monday night, early Tuesday morning. Something we haven't seen before. We do have tropical storm warnings all the way inland. This is a new product. And Clinton and Goldsboro and Greenville in the hurricane warning right now, and most of us under a tornado watch. Few counties still left out of that. But there's a tornado warning down there near the coast as we speak. If we get a tornado, of course, you want to make sure you get out of the second story if you have one of those. Get downstairs, get to the lowest point of the house that you can, and best bet the centermost point of your house. That's where you're going to be the safest, away from those windows. We'll let you know if any warnings do pop up, and these are going to be short-lived. These spin-ups, usually EF0s or EF1s, still causing a lot of damage. They're hard to find, though, because a lot of times they are rain-wrapped. Heavy rain moving in now. We just looked. We're not seeing rotation in this, but you see how that's setting up right now. Just a heavy band, so the same area is getting these showers with really no breaks. So this entire area under a flash flood warning right now, meaning if it's not happening, it will be. It is imminent because these bands just continue to move in. There's around midday. As we take you through the afternoon, you see band after band just getting pulled in off the ocean. And look what happens late tonight. Really heavy bands going to be moving into the sandhills. And you see the sharp drop off in intensity the farther north that you go. But when you get under one of these bands and the ground is already saturated at this point, that one moves through, you don't get much of a break before another band moves through, and before you know it, flash flooding is a major concern. So that's something we'll be dealing with for a while. And then on top of that, the creeks and the streams are filling up, and that's going to be causing significant issues down the road, as we're going to see river flooding for days as we go into next week. Everybody under a flash flood watch except our extreme northern counties. Looking at some of the models suggesting at a significant amount in the sandhills and a sharp cutoff on the rain as we move to the north. There's the GFS, there's the North American model, and there's our in-house model. You see the similarities there. Where that heavy band sets up could be off by 30 miles or so, but the point is the farther south, the worse it's going to be. Elevated impacts in our northern counties. I think moderate impacts through the triangle, where we could see up to 5 to 10 inches of rainfall, and then higher impacts farther to the south. We'll detail this much more coming up in just a few more minutes.
All right, Steve, thank you.
And again, if you're tuning in for the first time, we're watching the impact of Hurricane Florence in our area. A massive storm that the eye wall hit around the Wilmington area around 7:15 this morning, but the effects are widespread. We have crews stationed throughout the coast, in the heart of Carolina, in the Sandhills, and here in the Triangle, and our coverage will continue coming up in a few minutes.
Welcome back to ABC11 special coverage of Hurricane Florence, making landfall about 7:15 this morning as a Category 1 storm, about 90 miles per hour, just at Wrightsville Beach.
Good morning. It's now 9 o'clock and 76 degrees in the Triangle. I'm John Clark along with Barbara Gibbs.
And we are continuing our live team coverage of the hurricane, and again making landfall near Wilmington. We'll be feeling its impacts though for days to come. Let's take a live look first. Two pictures here from the Outer Banks, Kitty Hawk on the left and Hatteras on the right, and you can see the effects of the hurricane right now, bringing a lot of wind and rain and high surf.
Let's go now to one of our great reporters out in the field. Anna Rivera has been covering the situation in New Hanover County. She joins us live from Front Street in Wilmington. Of course, the storm eye wall came across on Wrightsville Beach, not too far away from you in Wilmington, Anna.
That's right, John, and we've been here for quite a while. I don't want to lose my photographer, Jim. We saw that eye wall come through earlier today. Right now we're in one of the busiest areas. If you've come to Wilmington, you've been in this area. This is Market and Front Street. We've got the Cape Fear River right behind me, but I do want to show you some of the damage. We've been driving around looking at some of this. You see these plywood, which has been on a lot of the windows and doors of the businesses here, but I want to take you up and show you where we think a lot of that plywood came from. Some of these windows were covered with plywood, and the plywood has been sucked out of the window, and now that it's open as the wind and rain is rushing into that. I'm going to take you over here a little bit and show you another piece. This looks like some type of an exhaust that a restaurant would have over top of their kitchen. And these are the types of scenes we've seen all through Wilmington. We've been driving through Wilmington for the last couple of minutes. Most of the power is out. A lot of the street lights are out so far that we've seen. We've also seen a lot of water pooling on the roads. We've seen a lot of street signs and trees down. Not much. The good news is, though, we haven't seen a lot of property damage just yet. Most of it has just been down trees, downed lines, so that's the good news, but it is still very dangerous out here. We've been driving very slowly trying to get around this damage. We've been taking streets that you normally wouldn't take to get to downtown Wilmington, so if you do have to come out, we advise you to stay inside for as long as possible because there is a lot of debris in the road. There's still a lot of wind, as you can see, and just try to stay safe and stay inside for as long as possible. Barbara and John?
Anna, you and Jim, be careful of flying debris out there, okay? Appreciate your reports.
Incredible to see that plywood sucked out of those windows that were boarded up on those buildings. It's a big storm. Let's go to Julie Wilson. She is now live for us in New Bern. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go to Jonah Kaplan.
Yeah, he's actually down in South Carolina in the Myrtle Beach area. Jonah, what's the situation there?
John, Barbara, good morning. The National Weather Service just issuing a flash flood warning here in Horry County, these areas of Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, and Conway. You can see it's kind of a light rain right now, but it's coming. They're expecting now 10 to 14 inches of rain, and you could see some of the winds whipping here next to the palm trees here. And if there's a theme here that we can kind of bring into Myrtle Beach, it's preparedness. They've been hunkering down since about Tuesday. Mandatory evacuation zones as far back as about 2 to 3 miles. Anyone living within the coast, they've had to get out of here. Anyone who's been down here knows this is an area that's bustling with traffic. A lot of tourists, a lot of attractions, hotels, restaurants, golf courses, all kinds of things. They've all been shut down. Supermarkets, Walmarts. There is nothing that has been open. So in a way, it's very good that it's quiet right now, and it's even better that people are adhering the warnings, respecting the warnings, and that's been a major theme as we've gotten here over the past few days. Other things to report: that police did enforce a curfew last night between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. They are going to do that again tonight, especially when Hurricane Florence, as expected, is supposed to make its push now down towards the southwest into the South Carolina coast. So again, windy, a light rain, but nothing compared to what we're about to get over the next few hours. Again, the preparedness, the evacuations, there's even a level 1 trauma center which we visited yesterday. They evacuated all patients except for those critically ill, and they even closed down the emergency room, again because of the threat of that kind of severe flooding. So we're certainly going to be staying here throughout the day and the next several days to see what happens, and hopefully again people continue to respect the warnings, listen to those warnings, stay inside, or even better, they're already gone. John, Barbara.
Jonah Kaplan at Myrtle Beach. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hunker down since Tuesday because the way this storm was moving when we were watching it as a Category 4, a lot of people were in the bullseye.
There were, I mean, when it first started, it had the possibility of going into the Delmarva Peninsula, and D.C. and Baltimore was on alert, even that far north, and then it came back to the south. And now the eye could track through South Carolina.
And I heard Chris Homan say the other day, meteorologist Chris Homan, that southwesterly track is something he hasn't really seen before with one of these storms.
This storm is so different. People will say, well, how does this storm compare to this storm? This storm is so different than any storm we have seen. First of all, where it formed, every other storm in the history we've been tracking these 100 years or whatever, every other storm that's formed in that area that we know of have not hit the U.S. They always curve out to sea. This is the first one to come from that area to hit the U.S. Secondly, it makes the trip to the south. Third, it was weakening, but the wind was actually spreading. So there's all kinds of weird things that have been going on with this storm. Are we having a problem with my microphone?
No, we're going to go to a press conference in Wrightsville Beach right now. Let's listen.
What we anticipated. Once kind of the weather comes down and the winds die down, town officials are going to go back on the Wrightsville Beach and kind of reassess, get initial assessment on final damage to know what we're doing. As we're through the storm, we're trying to put on our Facebook page some videos of the damage, what's happened out there, what the conditions are. We'll continue to do that as we go through Wrightsville Beach. That way people can kind of see what we're seeing and have a better idea on what kind of damage is to their homes and to their businesses. Our next briefing, we're going to be at 2 o'clock. And again, what we're going to do is we'll have a whole lot better idea of how we fared as a town at that point. And we'll bring that information to you. But the final message maybe I have is to all our residents, please be patient. Even though the storm hopefully will come through soon and we may be able to get back to operations sooner than normal, it's still going to be probably several days before power may be restored, or at least Wrightsville Beach, possibly utilities, although we're going to work as hard as we can to get that up as soon as humanly possible. So with that, I'd like to take any questions you may have.
We talked to you last night, you said no power loss. Right after my 11 o'clock line, right there at the bridge, you saw those lights popping off over there. Did you start losing power right after 11 o'clock last night?
No, sir. Matter of fact, we stayed at the hotel right across the street here, and I had power at 5:30 this morning when I woke up. Shortly after that, the power did go out finally, and has stayed off since, and that's been sustained.
And is that the same on the island, still out as well?
Yes, correct. Correct.
There was a few residents who decided to say they didn't have power right now.
Unless they had a generator, no, they do not have power.
And how can you describe the damage that you guys saw? How would you describe it?
Again, I hate to be overly optimistic. At this point, the damage just did not look that bad. Again, the streets were for the most part cleared. There were down limbs, there were some down trees, but it was far better than we expected. We expected to see a lot of roofs blown off, a lot of debris, and it just hasn't been that bad so far. Again, we're going to be on the backside of that storm. We are going to get that storm surge in. We do know that, and it's going to be a high tide. So that's what we're really concerned with, is the water. And if the winds stayed like they had in the first part of the storm, we're hoping that we don't have a lot more wind damage. But again, pulling from the other direction, it's just going to peel everything the other way. So we're certainly going to expect more damage, but we don't know how much right now. I did.
A lot of folks are going to be seeing this as we're streaming it right now, and they're going to be hearing the words, it wasn't that bad.
Right.
With that, you're going to be seeing a lot of folks looking at getting in their cars, trying to make it back. What's your message to folks to get that call back?
Yeah, absolutely not. We're still under an evacuation. We will continue to be till it's safe to go back on the island. So anybody comes down here to Wrightsville Beach, we're going to turn them around to go the other way. And the same thing, just because Wrightsville Beach wasn't impacted, that does not mean that other areas of the city, city of Wilmington, New Hanover County, and the other outlying areas aren't impacted a lot more than we are. I talked to several of you as you came down and said you saw a lot of down trees. Some of our officers that went off the island for a little while saw flooded water. So again, it's very dangerous to be out and driving around. It's a very bad idea. Stay into your homes until this thing is over. What's that again? We've seen several of them come off last night. I think at the last moment they decided to come over and get a hotel room, so we're grateful for that. We haven't encountered anybody, no.
Any idea what made them change this kind of last minute? What made them change their minds last minute?
I don't know, when you're in the house and your power goes out, and maybe it didn't last night, but that wind starts whipping. So I can only assume that they got concerned and thought it'd be better, in their best interest, to leave the beach.
I've covered some strong storms before, but I don't know the last time that I've seen it be the winds so strong in such a long period of time. What do you think about the fact that these winds can still go on for several more hours, even though they're not 100, 130 like we thought? It's still, 70-mile-an-hour winds is still really strong.
Absolutely, and they can cause substantial damage. And especially for people that are out to, that try to go out, it's not just the wind that's out here, it's the flying debris. One thing we did see on the island, that there's pieces of tin and those kind of things. If that hits you, it's gonna definitely cause some damage and hurt you. So again, I implore people, do not come out of your house, do not try to come down here, stay in your house and stay safe.
Yeah, I know you're not a meteorologist, but have you got any ideas how long you're going to be in this cycle that we're in right now?
I really don't know. Like I said, our biggest concern right now is that storm surge we're going to see at 11 o'clock, and that's what we're going to focus our attention to right now. Any other questions? All right, well, I want to thank everybody to come out again. Again, I want to reiterate that we are posting video on our Facebook page as we're able to take it, so please look. And also we'll be having a briefing again here at 2 o'clock, again, weather permitting. Thank you.
All right, so a fairly optimistic report from the police chief at Wrightsville Beach, saying so far the damage doesn't look that bad.
It's good news.
Well, I mean, they've got a couple things going for them. One, the winds didn't get up to the Category 4, so that helped with the wind damage part of it. Two, those beach areas can take a lot of rainfall. I mean, their topography is different. They're built to take a lot of rainfall. Problem for us is, they've had 7-10 inches down there. They can take it. 7 to 10 inches for us. That can be catastrophic. And so we are seeing flash flood warnings now in our area, not watches, but warnings. The latest one issued now for Johnston County. It includes Clayton, Smithfield, Bentonville. You are under a flash flood warning until 2:45 this afternoon. Let's slide east a little bit. And in Wayne County and Wilson County, you are now seeing that flash flood warning in Wayne County and Wilson County. This one runs until 2 o'clock this afternoon. This means flooding is occurring. You've had heavy rainfall up to 2 inches per hour rates in those areas, and that's what is causing that localized flooding. And then on south, well, this is new. We have Sampson County. This one goes until 1:15. Bladen, not technically part of our area, but I know we have folks who watch us from Elizabethtown on north. You are now under a flash flooding warning as well, and I expect this to expand as we go through the day. We have a tornado watch in effect that includes Sampson, Wayne, Johnston, Harnett, Wake, into Franklin County, Nash, Rocky Mount, Wilson area, Edgecombe County, and then Wilson County. All of those counties in our area under a tornado watch through 5 o'clock tonight. Remember, a watch means we're watching the situation. A warning means we anticipate that happening. The eye is now over Carolina Beach. You can see they're in a bit of a dry slot in Wilmington, but if we zoom in out, there's more rain out here still set to come through. So even though they're seeing a bit of a calm time in Wilmington and just north of there through Topsail, all of this shower activity will be sliding off to the west and south, and they're going to be in it for a while. Heaviest rain now pushing down towards Sunset Beach and getting ready to cross over and head toward Myrtle Beach. Closer to home, we've had very heavy rainfall this morning. Live look at First Alert Doppler. Wake County's just seen the light rain. We're on the leading edge of this rain. Sprinkles and light rain through Franklin County, but this will shift east. So even though you're in the heavy rain right now in Goldsboro and Smithfield, this rain field is going to work east, folks, and we're going to see the rain getting heavier in Wake County, Lee County, Moore County, Hoke County, I'm not trying to scare you, I'm trying to prepare you. And I think you should be prepared for a long period of heavy rainfall in parts of our area this morning. We've got that heavy rain band right now working through Smithfield down toward Dunn. It's pouring just east of Dunn, and I-95 is very wet this morning, where the mix master between 40 and 95, that area right there, in some very heavy rain right now. As far as the winds, I think the good news is the winds will be going away before the rain does. Look at the first alert model, and you can see the hurricane force winds pressing to the south as we go through the day. By 9:30 tonight, the hurricane force winds have worked out of our area. Tropical storm force winds, 40 miles an hour or greater, though, are all the way through our area and pressing off to the south and west. By 9:30 tomorrow morning, Wake County should be about done with tropical storm force winds. You'll still see gusts 20 to 30 miles an hour, but we should be out of the 40-mile-an-hour range in Wake County mid-morning tomorrow, and then that will slowly press to the south. And by tomorrow night, we're seeing the winds die out off to the south and to the west. Here is the 9 a.m. update from the National Hurricane Center. I'm going to have to adjust this. Sorry, it just came in, and this is an auto plot from the data, so it just kind of sticks it on there. But it looks like max winds are down to 85 miles an hour. It's drifting west-southwest now at 6 miles an hour. It's actually, the eye is located 20 miles southwest of Wilmington, expected to press off to the west and to the south. By lunchtime on Saturday, it's out here. Could be in this area down around Blade and Robinson counties, but it could be on down to the south, well south of Myrtle Beach as you're getting down toward Charleston as a tropical storm, and then it curves its way up through the mountains, could put down some heavy rainfall out into Boone, and then it pulls off to the north and to the east. All the spaghetti models, notice we're getting our morning models in, and the morning models are trending more to the southerly side of the National Hurricane Center line. And that means it would take a little bit more of a southerly track. If that happens, that could reduce some of those rainfall totals. I'm not saying we're in the clear at all. I'm just saying instead of 10 inches, we get 8 inches. So we'll have to watch that. Right now, our in-house model, though, shows the heavy rain. Look, it's not... This is 6 o'clock tonight. We're still seeing just pockets of heavy rain work through Wake County and the northern counties, and then very heavy rainfall down to the south. Overnight, we continue to see that heavy rain working through. Notice by about 4 o'clock in the morning, we still have heavy rain tomorrow morning, and even tomorrow by midday. We'll run this ahead. Look at this. By lunchtime, still heavy rain in our southern counties. Rain dissipating a little bit by midday tomorrow. As far as the warnings go, we have tropical storm warnings that include Lumberton, Fayetteville, Lidlington, Siler City, Raleigh, Apex, Holly Springs, Cary, Fuquay Varina, Zebulon, Wake Forest. You could see tropical storm force winds all the way through this system until it pulls out of here. Hurricane force winds still possible from Wayne down into Sampson County. These are the latest wind gusts coming in over the past 15 minutes. Notice Raleigh's gone up to almost 40 miles an hour. Fayetteville's in the 50s. Your highest wind gust so far recorded is 54 at Fayetteville. You're back up to 52, and I think these wind gusts will increase. Our highest winds are still out here, and those are still set to press through. Lewisburg, Smithfield, Goldsboro, and Clinton, I'd love to show you your wind gusts, but unfortunately we're losing stations. As the winds work through, they're breaking the stations. Fort Bragg's had a 55, Benson's had a 46, Smithfield's had a 40-mile-an-hour gust, Rayford's had a 33-mile-an-hour. Raleigh, this should be higher now. We're getting the newest data in. We'll update that map momentarily. Looking at the wind speeds from some of our sensors, these are from the buoys, the latest wind gusts coming to us from the buoys that are just near shore or offshore. We saw these in the 90 to almost 100-mile-an-hour range 3-4 o'clock in this morning. They're 76 miles an hour now, just off the coast of Wilmington, 74 down here off the coast of Myrtle Beach. There's a 70-mile-an-hour, there's a 61-mile-an-hour gust off the coast. And finally, we'll end with the flash flood watch that is in effect. Look how many counties we now have under flash flood warnings. And these go till 1, 2 o'clock this afternoon. These go for another 4 or 5 hours. And then they may have to revisit it again because it's going to keep raining. But in Wilson, Wayne County, Johnston County, Sampson County, and Bladen County, all under this flash flood warning. That means you are seeing flooding. You need to take shelter immediately. Those areas seeing some major flooding. And then we have a flash flood watch that does include Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. You could see 2 to 5 inches of rain in these northern areas. Wake County could see 5 to 10 inches of rain. You see 10 to 15 inches as you go Cumberland County on south. As a matter of fact, the Cape Fear River at Fayetteville and the Cape Fear River River at Wilmington has already been issued river flood warnings for Monday into Tuesday. Cape Fear River could be in moderate flood stage Monday into Tuesday with the amount of rainfall still headed in. So long ways to go on this storm. Producer, if you could let me know where we're going next, I will be happy to pass that along. Let's show you the forecast rain totals quick. 3 to 5 inches to the north, 5 to 10 through Wake County, 10 to 15 as you go south, and then almost 20 on further south. And we will talk more about those rainfall forecasts, and we'll give you an update on the radar coming up in just a bit. John and Barbara.
All right, Don, thank you.
Now 20 minutes after 9. Let's go back to Bridget Condon at the Emergency Operations Center. Bridget, what's the latest from there?
Yeah, guys, as you can tell, right outside the EOC, winds are really starting to pick up here in Raleigh. That tornado warning still in effect for Wake County, and you can see the clouds still moving fast. And one thing that I noticed inside that was really interesting, I was listening to a briefing of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and they were talking about a lot of, the things of how they're going to respond, what people's duties are for these next few days. And the biggest theme that I was hearing is just stay flexible, because again, we've seen this path of this hurricane shifting. We're probably not going to see much more change, but you never know, like we're seeing all throughout the triangle, all throughout the state of North Carolina. Certain areas are flooding that people had never even seen flood in years past. So it's just stay flexible and just stay ready. And every single person, they were saying, has a job. They need everybody's help in these coming days and then for weeks to come as well. Now, Governor Cooper is set to speak around 11 a.m. We're waiting for him. Let's take a look if we can get the full screen up of his 5 tips. Let me just remind you of those as this Hurricane Florence is coming closer to the triangle. Number 1, he said never drive on roads covered by water. It only takes a few inches to wash away a car. Also, stay indoors, stay away from windows, close storm shutters. Don't be a hurricane spectator, as we've been saying all morning long. We will bring you coverage from all over the state of North Carolina. You can watch us on ABC11 on your TV, on your mobile app, or on ABC11.com. Don't watch next to the window. Watch on your TV. Number 3, don't use generators indoors. Deadly levels of carbon monoxide can build up quickly. Number 4, stay in a secure space like small interior room or closet, hallway when the wind is high. And if you're sleeping, remember the lowest level of your house. If you're near trees and those can fall, you want to be on the bottom level of your home. Number 5, lastly, stay alert. Use radio or another device about warnings about wind, tornadoes, rising water, or orders to turn off your gas, water, and power. Of course, we will be bringing you all of those warnings. Again, Governor Cooper saying only call 911 if it is a serious emergency. As we've seen all morning, our first responders are they have so much going on right now. So if you need shelter, if you need food, 211 is the number you want to call. 911 just for serious emergencies. Guys, as I said, Governor Cooper is going to be here at 11 o'clock. For now, we'll toss it back to you guys.
All right, Bridget, thank you.
And we want to be clear now, clarify something. We do not have a tornado warning for Wake County right now. We're under a tornado watch. There's no warning for tornado anywhere in our viewing area. There is one out on the coast, but
yeah,
we're under a tornado watch right now.
Until
we're
5.
Just watching for possible storm conditions.
That's right. Okay, we want to go to a press conference from FEMA. Let's listen in.
Due to the recent rainfall we've had over the last couple of weeks, it will not take that much rainfall for additional flash flooding to occur in these areas. 1 to 3 inches in a couple hours will lead to flash flooding. Not as much as the main stub rivers as we anticipate over the Carolinas. And finally, the National Hurricane Center's next update will be at 11 o'clock a.m.
Good morning, Neil Jacobs from NOAA. In addition to forecast and decision support from the National Weather Service, NOAA deploys assets to support recovery and response. NOAA's navigation response teams are pre-staging to assist in reopening ports as soon as possible. The National Geodetic Survey has aircraft on standby to support FEMA overflights for affected areas. NOAA's Office of Response and Recovery is also on standby to assist the Coast Guard in any possible chemical or oil spills. The SARSAT system is actively providing distress and specific location information to the Coast Guard. NOAA is working with local emergency managers and industry to help amplify our forecast message, including working through over 8,000 Weather Ready Nation ambassadors. Although the storm has made landfall, our work is not done. I want to say thank you to our hardworking team, from the response and recovery personnel across NOAA to our reconnaissance crews in the Office of Marine and Aviation Operations. And additionally to the National Weather Service and National Hurricane Center employees who've been working 24/7 shifts. Many of these individuals have been sheltered in place for many days. Thank you.
Good morning. Again, my name is Jeff Byard. I'm the Associate Administrator for Response and Recovery. I want to start this morning by again thanking the media and our partners. You've done a tremendous job in helping us amplify the message of how serious and the potential deadly this storm is and will continue to be. As our partners at NOAA and the Weather Center just briefed, this is not the end of it. 24 to 36 hours remain of a significant threat from heavy rain, heavy surge, not just in North Carolina, but obviously down as we move into South Carolina. The message was very much amplified last night again through our media partners. You know, things like that I witnessed firsthand about, you know, Category 3 to Category 2, Category 2 to Category 1. It was very clear that that's a wind indicator, not a surge and rain indicator, which has not dropped, as you can see. So, again, want to thank your part of being a part of our team as far as getting that message out and to evacuate. We stand ready to support our state and local first responders. There are many areas that are currently, you know, in the heart of the storm, and there are many areas that will be as the day moves through today, tomorrow, and through the weekend. As you know, there are certain areas that where our first responders, it is not safe for them to respond, and we fully support that, you know, by all means. So those citizens that did not heed the evacuation warnings, you know, it's time to stay where you are, do the best you can to protect yourself and property and your family. We are in constant contact with both North Carolina, South Carolina, and also Virginia. There at the state level, we also have teams that are embedded at our state emergency operations centers and are in contact with our local emergency managers. Both states have activated their National Guard as well as their emergency operations plan. As you know, our National Guard does tremendous work across our nation, and they just do a wonderful job both at the national level and also their state duty of protecting the citizens of their representative states. We've also partnered with our good friends and partners that you see on the stage, but heavily engaged with the Department of Defense as we get ready to respond to this. We have what we need. We have what we need staged throughout the area, both as far as manpower and teams, as well as commodities, resources, communications. We've also heavily engaged with our partners at the private sector. Our focus, as you can see, priority is going to be life-saving, but on the monitors, it's also the effort's going to be stabilizing the critical lifelines in a very expedited manner. I have to reiterate, we have to set those expectations. This is going to be a duration. Power will be off, infrastructure will be damaged or destroyed, homes will be damaged or destroyed. So we need your help in level setting those expectations to our citizens and to our state and local governments. Heed local warnings. I can't emphasize that enough. Heed your local and state warnings. Protect yourself, protect your families. Don't put our first responders' lives in jeopardy. Do what you need to do as part of the team as well. And that message is to our citizens, both impacted currently and that will be impacted by the effects of Hurricane Florence. At this time, I want to turn it over to a good partner and a dear friend, Dr. Bob Cadlick with the Health and Human Services.
Thanks a lot,
Cadlick, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Bob Cadlick with the Health and Human Services. I'm the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response. To just point, we've been working closely with FEMA and our state and local partners well before the storm. Secretary Azar spoke to the governors, and I've spoken to the state health officials to know what resources are in place to assist them to save lives in the event of the worst case scenario. We've also been working very closely to declare public health emergencies in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia that will ease the ability for individuals as well as hospitals to take care of folks affected by this storm. We've deployed more than 500 personnel These are Public Health Commission Corps officers who are currently working in medical shelters around the region, assisting local communities, as well as several hundred disaster medical assistant teams who are positioned around the region to respond, if necessary, should there be a requirement to assist people who have specific health needs. We worked extensively before the storm with state and local officials identifying individuals who are particularly vulnerable during events like this, people who are dependent on electrical equipment such as ventilators, or people who have requirements for dialysis, to ensure that we know where they live and we can provide them services before the storm arrives as well as during the storm. Lastly, I just want to make a point that Secretary Azar has mobilized the entire Department of HHS, not only the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response, but the Centers for Disease Control, CMS, and HRSA to be ready to assist our state and local partners to save lives and help those communities at risk. Thank you very much, and now I'll turn it over to the Coast Guard.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. My name's Rear Admiral Meredith Austin with the Coast Guard. The safety of the people in the hurricane's path, as well as our own members and their families, remain our top priority. And we're continuing to work in close concert with FEMA, Army Corps, and our other federal, state, local, and private sector partners. We have Coast Guard personnel embedded with FEMA, DOD, and state emergency management agencies to enable a coordinated whole-of-government response. The Coast Guard has positioned 40 aircraft immediately outside the storm's path, which is about 20% of the Coast Guard's total aviation assets, to be ready to begin search and rescue operations as soon as it is safe to do so. In addition, we have shallow water response boat teams and deployable specialized forces to provide law enforcement, maritime security, as well as oil and hazardous materials response teams to come in immediately once the storm passes. We have over 7,100 Coast Guard members involved in the response so far and are ready to flow in more resources and assets when needed. The ports of Wilmington and Morehead City in North Carolina and the Port of Virginia remain closed at this time. The Coast Guard and Army Corps, NOAA, and other port partners are prepared to restore port operations with assets that have already been pre-staged as soon as it is possible once the storm passes and it is safe to do so. For those of you in the path of the storm, we continue to urge you to stay off the water, as our SAR assets, as I mentioned before, are still degraded or unavailable until the winds die down to a safe level. One other thing is that social media is a poor distress calling system for a number of reasons. We can't stress strongly enough that people in distress need to call 911 to be able to do so. Some of the lessons we learned and incorporated during last year's hurricanes is the use of aggregate social media to find hotspots to know where to vector in resources. However, for one-on-one rescuing of personnel, it's not efficient enough, so please, we urge you to use 911 if possible. And finally, once the storm is passed, hazards may still be present. Stay in a safe location while the Coast Guard and other state and local authorities assess damage and disperse additional resources. Thank you.
Hey, good morning. My name is Ray Alexander. I'm from the headquarters, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I'm the Director of Contingency Operations. I'm here today to talk about the Corps' preparedness to respond under Emergency Support Function 3, Stafford Act, in support of FEMA and our state and local partners. But first, I'd like to mention the support the Department of Defense is providing, as Mr. Byard highlighted. The Department of Defense and Army have deployed over 9,700 personnel. That's active and reserve component, and Department of the Army, Department of Defense civilians. In addition, key equipment has been positioned in the area. Vehicles capable of transiting high water, fixed-wing aircraft, rotary wing, both light and heavy. Helicopters have been positioned, in addition to amphibious vessels that are in the Army's inventory. To date, the Department of Defense has received over 25 mission assignments, $81 million. As far as the Corps is concerned, the Corps is in position and prepared to respond now. All our key leaders are located within the Carolinas. Today, our Deputy Commanding General for Civil Emergency Operations, Major General Spellman, is working his way to North Carolina, where he will link up with our Wilmington District Commander, Colonel Rob Clark, and they will engage at the State Emergency Operations Center and meet with key federal, state, local, other federal agency partners. In addition, Brigadier General Diana Holland from our South Atlantic Division she will be forwarded as well in both South and North Carolina today. To date, the Corps has over 15 mission assignments, $5.3 million, and additionally over $1.3 million of our own flood control coastal emergency funds that allow us to prepare for and respond to flooding. In terms of missions that we expect to execute, temporary power is probably job number one we anticipate. And with that, we have our specialized power planning and response teams in position in both North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia if needed. We're there with our 249th Engineer Battalion, Prime Power, and also augmented by contractors who will actually assist us in doing assessments and installing generators for critical infrastructure where needed. We are prepared to do infrastructure assessments of critical facilities in collaboration with EPA. Assessments on water, wastewater will be conducted. And then we're prepared to conduct other missions as assigned, debris, housing, temporary roofing, missions that we normally do in these types of events. Additionally, we have flood fight teams in position in the area and material to mitigate areas that we know that are going to flood or be able to quickly respond areas where flooding is occurring. As far as dams are concerned, I think I briefed yesterday, the Corps has 5 dams in Virginia and North Carolina. All those dams have sufficient capacity to receive the amount of rainfall based upon the prediction and also the projected path of the storm. And then there are other federal dams, specifically dams on Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Fort Jackson, South Carolina. We have personnel there on both garrisons prepared to offer technical subject matter expertise and respond if necessary. We do not anticipate any of these dams failing of any kind or dangers downriver. And then there are state and local dams and private sector dams as well. We'll be monitoring the status of those dams, but those are actually controlled and managed, again, by state and local governments. And then navigation, as the Admiral said, we're working closely with NOAA and the U.S. Coast Guard. Our survey vessels, our dredges, they're in safe harbor now. But as soon as the storm passes and the sea state allows, we'll be working with our partners to ensure that the ports, Morehead City, Wilmington, are open as soon as possible, Atlantic Intercoastal Waterway, and key federal inlets as well. Lastly, I would say some things that we are planning for. Potentials are North Carolina 12, which runs the length of the Outer Banks. It's had a history of being breached at times. We're doing planning in the event there's a breach, and we're receiving an assignment to repair that breach. We're looking for the potential debris mission, however, debris in the form of livestock, specifically hogs in eastern Carolina. There is a history of a large number of livestock being killed as a result of flooding in these storms. So we're prepared to do that. We are fully prepared.
And you have been listening to a FEMA press conference, and they're talking about the response and the preparedness to Hurricane Florence and those who are in desperate need of being rescued and who may, in the next 24, 36 hours, need some assistance.
Yeah, federal response to this just as tremendous as the state response. So getting to hear that from Washington, D.C. The feds have our back in this. We've spent a lot of this morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm coming in for
sitting in for John for a little bit.
Give him a little break here as this coverage continues. But I know you have spent a lot of your coverage, Barbara, talking about New Bern and the impact of the flooding and the storm surge there as that water gets pushed up the Pamlico Sound into the Neuse River and the Trent River. So we want to check in again with our friends in New Bern. Julie Wilson standing by there. Julie, give us the update on what's happening in that historic, beautiful town that is just inundated with water right now.
The wind is just really starting to pick up, Joel, and we've been watching the rain as it comes down. I'm standing in the parking lot of the fire department. This is really the headquarters for the fire department. They've been doing a lot of rescues. They told me over 100, around 125 rescues so far since overnight. These guys, they're working hard. The Cajun Navy is here. For those of you who don't know what the Cajun Navy is, that's essentially like a group of volunteers of boat owners who have kind of come together. They collaborate. They live around water areas. They know how to navigate through this stuff. And that was formed back when Katrina hit Louisiana. And again, we saw them in Harvey. We saw just lines of boats going down to Texas after Harvey hit. And certainly we are seeing that now. That team is out here and they're working hard. Want you to go ahead and look right up there. 2 flags. You see those blowing? Joel, do you see those blowing, Barbara? That means hurricane. Hurricane, it's happening right now. This is Florence. This is her wrath. She is raining down here. The waters have gone out a little bit. We were just in a safety briefing between the volunteers here and with the fire department, and they were running over some of the things that people need to be watched out for. They're telling people to watch out for electrical hazards. They're also telling people going into these flooded streets that there could be submerged cars that they don't know about. Those submerged cars, you hit one of those, that could flip your boat, and then you become the person that needs to be rescued, and certainly they're trying to avoid that issue. They're also warning people about wildlife, because wildlife can become scared in these weather conditions, and rightly so, and those wildlife can be dangerous in those situations. Also warning people as they get ready to prepare for more rescues this morning about people with medical needs, and telling people to not freelance in this situation when they're trying to rescue people. Don't freelance. Do not go out on your own. That can turn into a deadly situation. Joel and Barbara, I'll tell you, as we've been here at the fire department, we've seen at least one group of women come up needing help, that their sister was in trouble. And we saw one older woman come up here trying to get in contact with her daughter. People out walking in this. Of course, that curfew is underway for people. And look at this. This is the parking right here. And you can see the water is just coming up. And again, we are expecting the water to come back up around noon, and they're trying to knock out as many of those rescues as they can before the water comes back. Earlier, we were showing you the Trent River where it was up, and you can see the boats all the way down there. There was a truck stranded down there, but you can definitely see where the water had cleared out and where it had been, and it just rushed through businesses. So that's something we're keeping our eye on, and of course all eyes will be on this high tide when that happens. And we are talking to the Mayor Pro Tem earlier, and they're telling us that that could happen around noon this time. So they are trying to get as many rescues done as possible, because we know this morning at least there was folks on their roof waiting to be rescued. When we talked to the Cajun Navy earlier this morning, they told us that they had at least 500 phone calls here in New Bern alone. And some of those phone calls were folks saying that they were trapped on their roof, according to members of the Cajun Navy there. So water is up high in certain places. Certainly we've seen objects floating down the road a lot. So flooding, it is happening in this area in bits and pieces. Downtown New Bern, that has been closed down. So the electricity is out here, though some places we have seen some electrical trucks. We were told by the county that they are not going to be trying to repair anything until the winds kind of die down a little bit, but we have seen some electrical trucks out in this area driving up and down. I haven't seen them doing work, whether they're repairing stuff, I don't know, but we have seen them out and about. So that is the very latest from New Bern. Joel and Barbara.
All right, Julie, thank you. We know so many folks in desperate need in that area. Now, we also want to go now to Wilmington, downtown Wilmington, from our sister station. Ted Oberg, reporter there in downtown, seeing some damage. Got the second highest wind gusts in history there at 105. Ted and I used to work together in Virginia, so good to see you again, Ted. What do you see now in downtown Wilmington?
Well, I miss the sunny days 20 years ago, Barbara, but downtown this morning, it is a mess. This tree is just the start of it. But overnight, it has been an absolute, well, it's been the eye of the storm, to be perfectly honest. That 105-mile-an-hour wind gust you talked about, that came through just after sunup. But all night, it has been heavy, heavy wind and heavy, heavy rain. The eye of the storm came through here, or just about 6 to 8 miles east of here, just after sunup. But now that the sun is up and the rain has blissfully stopped for just a minute, you can see some of the damage. Look at this plate glass window at the hallway shops here, blown out completely. The glass all over the sidewalk here. You can see all of that, and it spreads down Front Street here for some distance in downtown Wilmington. But I want to come walk down the street a little bit because one of the things you can see is this tall high-rise under construction. As the wind blows our photographer around a little bit, you can see a lot of the plywood covering that had been on those windows during the construction phase has been blown out, and it's rained down onto the street below. You can see the giant sheets of plywood. Thankfully, all of that happened in the middle of the night when no one was out. You can start to see some people coming out to take a look at just how bad the damage is. These are people who stuck around in Wilmington. Not that many, to be perfectly honest, and we're just starting to see them now. I have not seen the river come up at all, and the rain that has come through is starting to get off the streets and drain just okay. Hey guys, we're live on WTVD. Can I talk to you for just a quick sec? Tell me your name.
Phil.
Phil, where were you Phil, where were you overnight?
Just on the other side of this building.
And so, how bad was it when that wood?
It was stuff coming down all night long.
Why'd you decide to stick around, Phil?
Well, that's just what we do.
That's what you do. Yeah.
I mean, you know, we don't want to leave town, so.
And the power's been since what, about 7 o'clock?
We lost our power yesterday. We were one of the first to lose it.
Oh, you lost it yesterday?
Yeah, in our building. We lost it, and the power came back on everywhere around us but ours.
Huh. Sorry about that.
We called and they said we were the only ones that didn't have power, and it never did come back on.
They may not be by for a while. Are you prepared to stick it out?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, good luck, man. I'm glad you're safe.
Not a problem.
All right. Stay dry. Stay safe.
Yeah.
So you can continue to see some of the stuff that Phil was just talking about that just showered down all night. That giant piece of metal there came off the roof, and now it's lying on the as we look up above. You see all the windows blown out. But David, if we come down to street level, you can see some of the metal that's been flying around. It's part of the reason it's a little bit dangerous. We were talking just a minute ago as we prepared to come on with you guys, and a piece of that metal flew up and blew down the street. So it is not an easy time to be out on the streets of Wilmington, and thankfully most people aren't. That's the scene down here. It's a break in the rain, but we know it's coming back.
Thank you, Ted, for that live report. Downtown Wilmington on Front Street. So many people have walked those streets before, and a lot of damage. Thank you, Ted.
Yeah, dangerous situation in downtown Wilmington right now. Debris falling. It's a debris zone right now, and it's not going to be safe for a while.
Those plywood planks sucked out of that building under construction and landed on the ground.
Right there on the ground.
Pretty dramatic.
Pretty dramatic stuff. Meantime, Kim Diener is standing by doing double duty this morning, taking a look at traffic and also the pictures and the video coming into us on social media. Hey, Kim.
Hey, Joel. Thank you. That video report was just hard to watch. It's amazing what's happening along our coast right now. We do have some accidents though back here at home, even though folks are staying home. Not a lot of people out on the highways. We're starting to see ponding on the roads. That ponding is happening where we're seeing the heaviest rain. All of that continues to be east of Wake County, down into Johnston County, Sampson County, Cumberland County. Now we're going to go all the way down into Robeson County right now. This is the first thing I wanted to add. This is just out from DOT officials. I-95, there's flooding between Carthage Road and NC 72 Catton Road. So this is not just the only place that's flooding. They're recommending that people stay off of I-95 in the Lumberton area. So because more than just this area is flooded. So I just wanted to start off with that. So if you're watching from down there, keep in mind I-95 not the necessarily safest place to be during the day today. I-440 eastbound, we have a stalled vehicle at US 70. That is not weather related. We're not seeing any flooding issues here in the area. Fire activity, Seacrest Drive and New Hope Road, not 100% sure if that's been resolved, still showing as an issue. Barrow Drive and Old Wake Forest Road, we're seeing an accident there causing a little bit of a delay, but folks are out on the road. And then now we're starting to see those trees coming down. Most of the trees that have come down so far that 911's reporting, they're in neighborhoods, they're not on roads. This one though is on a road. Crowder Road is closed both ways between Rand Road and Ashwood Drive due to power cables and trees down. So you're going to want to avoid that area. Right now we're seeing more cancellations out of RDU. Delta running on a normal schedule. American still limited. United still limited. JetBlue now has canceled all flights out of RDU and into RDU. Frontier has canceled flights and Southwest has canceled flights. So that's summing things up. We're going to continue to watch those showers make their way into the triangle, and we'll start to deal with any sort of flooding issues as we take care of that. Now let's go to social media because we do have some new videos coming in. The first one I want to show you, this is out of Oak Island. This came in at 9:30 this morning. I want to put this into motion because you can just see how much rain and how strong the winds are at Oak Island. Oak Island sitting, this particular picture, I do believe I know where this is on Oak Island, right there at the beach. The beach you can see off in the distance, not in this picture, but a little earlier you could. So that is what we're seeing out of Oak Island this morning. We also have, let me shut this. This is out of Wilmington. So roof completely ripped off. Thank you, Charles Peak. This happened earlier this morning. So we're going to see a whole lot of that in Wilmington as well. Wilmington just really getting hit super hard with the winds. And we'll continue to watch the rain. Again, are we surprised that we have people surfing out in the ocean? No, we shouldn't be surprised. That's obviously not a good idea to do, but that did come in. And then we've got this. This is from Tracy Tracy is just showing us the winds blowing at her location. This is her backyard. Luckily for her, there's a lot of very tall pine trees. This is compelling video. This is, hold on, also in Wilmington. You can see it does appear, this may be down there near Wrightsville Beach, on the other side of Wrightsville Beach. Either way, great video. Rain just coming down very hard. Those boats hanging in there, though. I know a lot of people are going to be worried about their boats as they move through the day-to-day. I hope you can see, this is great video. You can see the trees, and I think at the very end, one tree goes completely down. And there it is.
There it is.
There it is. Is that not amazing? And I can't tell, I don't know if you guys can or not, if that fell on a house, but that we're going to see more and more of that. Please continue to send your videos and your pictures in. You can do it Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, ABC11.com. Just hashtag it ABC11. It comes into us, and we're then able to show you what's happening out there where we don't have crews right now in your backyard.
Wait till it's safe to do it, though.
Yes, definitely.
And interesting, you just showed that video of a tree falling. We have a man on the phone who's a resident of New Bern, Ben Selby, who posted on Facebook, and we'll hopefully get that up to show you, a huge tree fell on his house. Mr. Selby, can you hear me?
I can.
Gosh, we're seeing the picture of your Facebook post right now. Can you tell me what happened?
Yeah, I was prepared for the worst. I had all my provisions, anticipating that the power would go off, and it did. I knew at that point it was going to be a long night, and I had some things loaded on my tablet. So I settled in, and just a few minutes later, a big crash, and just literally a few feet away from me, big part of a tree came through my bedroom.
Goodness.
And just immediately, I mean, the wind was raging, and pretty much impacted all but 2 rooms of the house I was in. And after I got squared away last night, tried to get a little rest, but every time I would doze off, something else big would hit the roof and send shockwaves through my body.
Goodness. So anybody else in the house with you? Y'all doing okay?
No, my son and his mother are down in Savannah, and so anyway, just in a little bit of state of shock. Pretty much trashed. I worked Hurricane Floyd. I was a drug counselor in a facility, and we were washed out. So I went to work with FEMA for a while, and during that period, and that was in '99. And the guys from FEMA were there and said, people don't understand that this is a long process. They said, we just closed our last Andrew case last week. That was in '92. So I am aware that a lot of people are just in the very preliminary stages of what's going to be a long process. I'm resilient, but there's a lot of folks out there who are in for a tough road.
Yeah, Ben, we're seeing this tree in this precarious position on top of your house. Did it create a hole? Is it raining inside your home?
It's there's a hole in the master bedroom, in the guest room, my son's room, in the foyer, in the den, and in the living room. So all but the kitchen and dining room have roughed-in skylights.
So what do you do? Do you ride out the storm with your house in this position like this?
I'm up in the air about what I'm going to do. I think that I don't want to tax the system.
Sure.
You know, the sad thing is that my house and the condition that it's in is better than some before the storm hit.
Wow.
So I'm going to try and mitigate the damage and make it accessible. The property owner, I'm renting here in this place. Property owner's reached out from Texas. She's in media, and so I'm gonna try and mitigate the damage. I may camp out in the dining room or in the kitchen, and I've got dry goods and provisions. I got my chainsaw. My intentions were to get up and go help other folks today. That's why I stayed. But I've got to be able to get out to get all that done.
God bless you. We're scrolling through the pictures on your Facebook page and seeing some of the damage here. It's incredible with these limbs literally sticking through your roof and through your walls. It's amazing stuff. We're so glad that you are okay. Just give folks some kind of locational perspective on where you are. We know New Bern kind of sits in that position at the confluence of the Trent River and the Neuse River as well. Flooding is a big issue in that historical city right now. Are you in any danger? Right. Are you in a low-lying area of water coming your way?
Well, to position myself, I'm up the Trent River, and I guess if you look at where the confluence is, I'm about perhaps a mile up river, up on the left bank, and there's a creek behind my house, and it rose up to about the garage level, and fortunately that's subsiding. So no water came from below, it's all from above, but I'm over in Trent Woods, about a mile upriver, up on the left bank.
Well, Ben, we wish you the best, and just incredible damage. We thank you for sharing it with us, and so glad that you are not hurt, and neither are any members of your family. We appreciate hearing from you and wish you the very best in the days ahead.
Thinking about you, Ben. We'll check in with you again if we can. Ben Selby in New Bern, going through it right now.
Okay.
Thank you very much. You guys take good care.
Thank you, Ben. You too. All right, our Jonah Kaplan is in Myrtle Beach, which at the beginning when we were watching the storm and its many paths that it could have taken, Myrtle Beach hunkering down. Jonah, did you say people there since Tuesday they've been preparing for the storm?
Tuesday, Wednesday, we got here yesterday, Thursday, and already the supermarkets were closed, all the restaurants were closed. There were mandatory evacuations. They called them areas A, B, and C, depending on how far inland you lived. And each time, successive days, they said, all right, area A, time to evacuate. Area B, time to evacuate. Area C, time to evacuate. And now, basically, there's probably about a good 3-4 mile stretch, which is, I would say, abandoned. And just look behind me here, because this is normally, you know, a bustling area, Myrtle Beach. Look at all the waterfront properties, the condos, the hotels, and there's nobody here. And when we're talking about the wind now that's coming down, I've really never seen anything like this. If you look over here in front of this hotel, look how the seagrass is kind of going to the left. Now let's go to the other side, another hotel. The seagrass is going to the right. The winds are definitely whipping. We don't have much rain right now, but the wind coming from the west, it's pushing the water away. So there's no storm surge now. Instead, what you have is kind of this ultra low tide and an ocean that looks like a lake. No ripple, no surf, barely an undertow. Everything is going that way. And you see, because look at all this sand here. Normally, low tide wouldn't even go out this way. High tide would go all the way up to the dunes over there. So if we're expecting this storm surge of 6 to 9 feet, we ain't seen nothing yet. This is going to be a very serious situation later on today. Again, the winds are kind of whipping from the west, so pushing everything this way. And just look at almost kind of the little channels of water that it's created within the sand. Anyone who's been down here, yes, the South Carolina beaches are wide, but they're not supposed to be this wide unless it's maybe a full moon or, again, something like this. So we're going to continue to watch the situation here as it unfolds. But right now, just wind, no rain yet. But we know that's going to change. Joel, Barbara?
All right, Jonah, thank you.
Jonah Kaplan showing us a part of Myrtle Beach that we ain't seen before.
That's right.
Yeah, that is sand that is normally covered by the ocean, and that hurricane is coming Jonah's way. Coverage continues on ABC 11. We're going to reset at the top of the hour.
Good morning, Carolina. Welcome on this Friday, September the 14th. It's now 10 o'clock. I'm John Clark.
I'm Joel Brown, sitting in for a little bit during our special coverage, which continues now of Hurricane Florence. The storm just making landfall just after 7 a.m., 7:15 to be exact. It made landfall near Wilmington, and we are going to be feeling its impact for days to come. And in the immediate future, this thing is really sticking around, going slowly.
It is a very slow-moving storm, moving about 6 miles per hour. Now on shore. So let's check in with meteorologist Don Swinnaker to see just what the path of this storm is.
Yeah, unfortunately, this thing, I just talked to someone who said, well, it's not raining very much outside my house yet. And we're just getting started in the triangle and points north and west. And we'll show you the speed of it in just a moment. Let's show you the latest radar pictures first, a live look at first alert. Actually, let's show you the latest watches and warnings first, because I want to show you, Steve Stewart and I were talking about this. I don't remember this. Almost the entire state of North Carolina under a flash flood watch. That just never happens. Those highlighted counties there down to the south and to the east, they are under a flash flood warning. We'll talk more about those in just a moment, but that flash flood watch extends all the way back into the mountains. It does include portions of the Triad as well. I know I've heard from some folks watching us online from Greensboro and from Winston-Salem. You're under this watch as well, so just be ready for that. All right, let's talk about the warnings. We have this one in Smithfield, Clayton, and Bentonville. Johnston County under a flash flood warning until 2:45 this afternoon. We go to Wilson and Goldsboro. Flash flood warning in effect until 2 o'clock this afternoon in Wilson and Goldsboro, and I think these could be extended. You're in very heavy rainfall right now. Our first warning issued this morning for flooding was in Sampson County. That's why this only goes for another 3 hours, 15 minutes. At the moment, those could be extended beyond that, but in all of these areas, flash flooding is occurring or will occur momentarily. Now we're looking at a tornado watch. This is a heads up from the National Weather Service saying, look, you could see a tornado in this area anytime through 5 o'clock. There's a difference between a watch and a warning. A watch, it means we're watching the situation. Doesn't mean one is happening. A warning means a tornado is happening right now. So out here, out of our viewing area, we see this little purple area. This is a tornado warning, an active tornado warning east of our viewing area. We are not seeing any in our area at the moment, but that watch continues until 5 o'clock tonight. This is a look at radar out of Wilmington, the eye of the storm right down here around Wilmington. We'll zoom down in. You can see the eye kind of filling in near Seabreeze in Wilmington. Oak Island right now taking the brunt of the heaviest rain and the gustiest winds working around this storm. Notice in Wilmington, the wind has actually shifted directions. It's now starting to come out of the south and west, and they will see a wind direction shift around Wilmington over the next half hour. Now, this heavy line of rain is starting to work into portions of Franklin County, Wake County, down into Lee and Harnett counties, this leading edge of the more continual rainfall. We had this forecast to go in around 10 to noon today, and it has arrived now, and I think we will see this rainfall continuing to hang around all afternoon long, and it will get heavier and heavier. But our heaviest rain right now in these Warren counties, from Johnston County down into Wayne County, Wilson with those heavy showers as well, Bentonville to Goldsboro, a very heavy rainfall. Now, John mentioned this. John and Joel were talking about Hurricane Florence and the speeds. It's still a Category 1. This is the 10 a.m. update. The National Hurricane Center now updating on an hourly basis the intensity of the storm. Category 1, winds are still at 85, gusts going near 100, moving west-southwest at 6 miles an hour. So it is starting to drift. This is interesting, is it, look, it's going west-west-west, it hits the land, and now it's starting to curve to the south. And many of the models have hinted at this. We think we'll get our latest update in about 56 minutes. We think this may be adjusted south a little bit by the National Hurricane Center. Notice by tomorrow at lunchtime, between noon and 2 tomorrow on your Saturday, still could be a tropical storm in North Carolina, but more and more we're thinking this could be down into South Carolina. Florence, headed for Florence. That we'll have to watch for that in South Carolina, and then into Columbia, and we'll see that by Sunday into Sunday morning, and then it pulls off through Asheville and could bring some heavier rains to the mountains. That's why that flash flood watch extends all the way to Boone and Asheville. All right, how is this going to impact your life? I've been asked this a lot, so let's start in Wake County, biggest population. In Wake County right now through tomorrow, the Possibility is there for 5 to 10 inches of rain. We'd see more in the 5-inch category from Rollsville to Wake Forest, closer to 10 inches down around Fuquay, Varina, Holly Springs, and Garner. Sustained winds in Wake County going 30 to 40 miles an hour. Gusts could go 40 to 50 plus miles an hour. And power outages have already happened. I think we could see more power outages as we go through tonight into tomorrow. Now the rest of the region. We'll be doing a Facebook Live in a little bit, coming up around 11 o'clock on the ABC11.com Facebook page. So if you're not following ABC11's Facebook page, I will be on there live coming up at 11. But whenever I do a Facebook Live, the number one question I get asked is, what's it going to be like in my town? So watch for the next minute or so. We're going to go through all the towns, or at least all the counties. We'll give you an idea what it's going to be like. So we'll start in our northern counties where the impacts will be elevated, but really not severe. 4 to 6 inches of rain possible with the current track. This could be adjusted depending on the path, but right now 4 to 6 inches of rain possible, gusts 15 to 25, or sustained winds 15 to 25, gusts going 30 to 40 miles an hour. How about from Halifax down to Nashville, Lewisburg, Butner, Durham, Burlington, Chapel Hill, Pittsburgh, Siler City, although you're kind of getting on that next line. But in this orange area, these particular towns could see 5 to 10 inches of rain, closer to 5 north, closer to 10 south. You know what's funny? It just occurred to me, we do this with snowfall totals. I mean, we usually measure snow in 5 to 10 inches, not rain. This is crazy. Anyway, 5 to 10 inches of rain across this region, winds 15 to 30, and gusts going 35 to 45 miles an hour. Let's go a little further south. High impacts from Tarboro to Wilson to Smithfield, Holly Springs, Fuquay, Sanford, Pinehurst, Lillington. This red area could see 10 to 15 inches of rain, 30 to 40 mile an hour sustained winds, and gusts going 50 miles an hour. And then this is where the real big impacts, extreme impacts could happen to both life and property. We're talking Goldsboro to Clinton to Fayetteville, Rayford to Laurinburg and Lumberton. All of those areas could see at this point 15 to 20 inches of rain, 40 to 50 mile an hour winds, and gusts in the 70 mile an hour range through tomorrow. Because of those gusts in the 70 mile an hour range, the National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for Wayne, Sampson, and Bladen counties. The rest of this orange area, you're in that tropical storm warning where winds will be 39 to 74 miles per hour. These are the latest wind gusts from around the region just in the last 15 minutes. 46 mile an hour down in Fayetteville, 40 mile. We've hit 40 mile an hour now in Wake County. That's been in the 30s for those gusts. It's now in the 40s, 39 in Southern Pines. People are asking me why Chapel Hill, Lewisburg, Smithfield, Goldsboro, Clinton, none of those stations are reporting. We're not getting data from those. So it's not that we're trying to hide something from you. The stations just aren't reporting the data either now or anymore. All right, we're looking at wind gusts today. These are from around the region. Look at Wilmington. They had 105 mile an hour wind gusts. Fort Macon 99, Emerald Isle 80, Kinston reported a 64 mile an hour wind gust, Jacksonville 81, down by the coast. Cape Hatteras only up to 55. The Outer Banks being spared a little bit on this one. Clinton 48 miles an hour, Goldsboro at 43, Wilson 45, Sanford at 44, Fayetteville a report recently of 52 miles an hour, and RDU the highest wind gusts so far at 40 miles an hour. And I think we will see these wind gusts going up throughout the afternoon. Here are the wind gusts off the coast, 59 mile an hour happening right now as you get down toward the beach near Wilmington. They're still seeing 70 plus mile an hour winds along the coast near Topsail. We're going to continue to watch this rain work through. We're going to have much more coming up on radar. We'll continue to monitor that. We have that tornado watch we're watching out for, and I think that could be a potential for some tornadic activity, especially as we get from about noon till 3 o'clock in our eastern counties. I would not be surprised to see a few tornado warnings pop. Usually in these outer bands as they work through, you're not only getting some heavier rainfall, you're getting a lot of spin in that rain, and you get the rotation, and as it rotates inside there, it will trigger those low-level tornadoes. So we're going to have to watch for that all the way through 5 o'clock tonight.
We've had some warnings overnight and this morning as well, but nothing that's touched down.
Nothing that we've been able to confirm so far, but we could have more warnings again, and I would not be surprised to see some.
All right, thank you very much, John.
Yep.
John, thanks.
We got some video that we want to show you. If you can switch over that screen now on the teleprompter, please. Switch that over for us. All right. First of all, here's some video of damage from downtown Wilmington, and you can see when it comes up, it looks like a large tarp has blown off that building there. You know, people put tarps over there to keep the water from getting into holes that erupt, but Looks like that tarp isn't doing much good.
Didn't work too well. This is brand new video that we are seeing for the first time as you are seeing it. So we're just going to roll through this together. But you know, Wilmington was under the gun here with that wind, that 105-mile-an-hour wind gust. This second piece of video is from New Bern. And when you see these floodwaters that just keep on rising, and in this particular video, debris floating along in the water. New Bern is really being inundated with a lot of this rain as that storm surge blew up the Pamlico Sound, sending water into the Trent River and into the Neuse River as well, and leaving New Bern, that beautiful historic town, under a lot of water right now. We're seeing dozens and dozens of swift water rescues in and around New Bern.
Well, let's move back to the Triangle now. We have some pictures of Heritage Wake Forest. The trees snapped in this person's backyard in Wake County, and there are numerous reports of trees and tree limbs down, most of it to the south and east of the Triangle, but even here in Wake Forest you see some of that damage.
Yeah, some of those powerful wind gusts taking over in Wake Forest there. This is video that we are just seeing. Paramedics removing a person on a stretcher, taking them away on an ambulance. This is in Wake Forest as well. We don't have any information on how this person was injured or the severity of their injuries, but first responders are out in the middle of this storm. They are prioritizing the most serious emergencies, and there are some paramedics tending to an injured person in Wake Forest. This is brand new video. We'll get you more details when we can.
Here's some more new video, this time from Carolina Beach, New Hanover County. Florence toppling trees there. High water also a concern on that barrier island.
And other piece of video now. This is traffic lights hanging down near the road due to the wind and the rain. This is also from New Bern. Not just rain there, not just flooding, but those high wind gusts as well, taking down some power lines in that city. You can see trucks passing by these lights, nearly hitting them. That's not a safe thing to do either. Wow. She's taking some risks out there in New Bern, perhaps the potential to make a already bad situation a lot worse. But that is the freshest video that we can show you right now as we continue our coverage of Hurricane Florence's impact on North Carolina.
Yeah, you talk about a traffic hazard. By the way, if you come across lights that are stopped, not hanging down low like that, you treat it like a four-way stop.
You see lights that are hanging down like that, you turn around.
That's right, turn around.
Just get off the road.
Don't run into it. All right, let's go to New Hanover County now, and Anna Rivera has moved from downtown Wilmington to the Intracoastal Waterway, and you're at the Dockside Restaurant, a famous restaurant there. How's it going, Anna?
We can definitely feel those winds coming in. We heard about the reported 105-mile wind gusts, and I don't know if it's that fast, but it's definitely very fast gusts right now. You can see the water coming up on the patio out here. The waves are pretty crazy right now, and I want to take you over to show you some damage that happened here along Airlie Drive. The power line has come down along this roadway, and there are lots of wires down, and as well as a lot of trees down along this road on our way in. The good news is that we haven't seen much flooding in this area yet, even though this floating dock, you can tell the water levels are definitely up high because it is higher than the normal deck. So again, the good news, not much flooding at this point. I know it's very early in the storm, but still very, very strong winds. It's been actually ripping my earpiece out this whole time. Very strong winds, high waves. It's definitely not safe to be out at this time, even though it has calmed down from earlier. We advise you to stay inside and stay safe. Keep hunkering down while this storm blows through. Back to you guys.
Anna Rivera in Wilmington for us. Anna, stay there for a second. I'm not sure how long you've been in Wilmington for this part of your reporting day, but just can you give us any sense of where the water was a few hours ago and where it is now and how much further there is to go?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Just trying to get a better sense of how far that water has come. How bad has the flooding got over the last several hours?
Oh, okay. So we haven't seen any major flooding on the roadways yet, but if you take a look at the dock, so this is where their patio is for the Dockside Restaurant, and their floating dock is probably about a foot higher than that at this point. So water seems to be rising rapidly, but we haven't seen much on the roadways at this point.
Storm surge, a serious issue. Anna Rivera monitoring that for us. Anna, we'll check back in with you soon. Thanks.
All right, let's go further up the coast now. And joining us by telephone is Barbara Joyner, a resident of James City, North Carolina. And Ms. Joyner, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you well.
All right, tell us about what your situation is and what you're seeing.
Right now, my situation is good. Where I'm at, I'm on Thurman Road in the, I guess, eastern part of the James City area. And we don't have flooding or nothing. We got a tree that looks like it might be about to go down. People have lost shingles and tree limbs and that type of thing. We haven't had power since maybe 7 or 8 last night. But right here, we are good. Up in the other part of James City and in New Bern, they're doing a lot of swiftwater rescue. Wow. I have cousins and other family members that had to wait to be rescued, you know, for daylight.
And you say you haven't had power since 7 last night?
Correct.
All right. James City, by the way, is in Craven County, right there on the coast. And but you've got some family members you say you're very concerned about.
Yes. And James City, for those that don't know, is where the airport, New Bern Airport is. That is considered James City area, to try to give you a guesstimate of where it's at.
So, Miss Barbara, just give the folks at home just a better sense of where you are situated. You know, New Bern sits on that confluence of the Trent River and the Neuse River. You saw tremendous flooding most recently with Hurricane Matthew. Is your home in any danger of some of this flooding we're already seeing?
I think my home may be flooded, but I left and went to my sister's home. So where she lives at on Thurman, we are good. Thurman Road is going more toward, it's like between New Bern and Cherry Point. So we went that way. And it's not close to the water. Now, where I personally live is close to the water. And I did try to go to see this morning, and I was stopped by the sheriff. And they said we have a 6 a.m. curfew till tomorrow. If you're not rescue personnel, then you need to be off the road. But it was freeze down, and I couldn't have went anyway. I had to turn around. Wow. So my family that needs rescuing, they were in the part of James City right by the Trent River. And my page on Facebook is Barbara Joyner Lee, and there's pictures up there of people and videos of people being rescued. I had a search member, her and her granddaughter were in the attic all night until daybreak.
Wow.
So it's really bad. And one thing I just want the people to know is just to pray for us. You know, we chose to stay here under mandatory evacuation. We knew what that meant. So when fire and rescue take a while to get to us, we understand that's what we signed up for when we stayed.
Wow. All right.
I'm just praying and I'm keeping the faith. And, you know, God ain't never failed me yet, and I don't think he's going to let me fail this time.
A lot of folks praying for you, too. Barbara Joyner Lee of James City, and just be careful, and we hope the best for your family members as well.
I'm thinking about you, Barbara. Bridget Condon, meantime, has been doing some great reporting for us on the news side of this station. She joins us again live over at the Emergency Operations Center in West Raleigh, I should say. Bridget, you've been talking to National Guard, you've been talking to state emergency managers. What can you tell us now?
Yeah, Joel, as we've been saying all morning long, there's a lot of moving parts that goes into this rescue mission. A lot of just waiting right now until things become more safe. Obviously, those high-speed winds and damaging floods in New Bern, and we're seeing in Wilmington, those are dangerous for first responders, for the National Guard. So what people are really waiting to hear right now inside the EOC is Governor Roy Cooper. He is going to be speaking here at 11 a.m. just about over 30 minutes. We'll hear from him again. We haven't heard from him since 5 p.m. yesterday. So much has happened since then. Like we mentioned, the New Bern floodings, the evacuations, the people being trapped inside their homes. Obviously, the eye is now in Wilmington. In the Triangle, we haven't really seen the effects of Hurricane Florence yet, just starting really this morning. So He's going to address all that. He's going to speak with media. We're going to expect to hear some more numbers. Duke Energy is reporting 21,000 outages across Wake County. They're only anticipating that number to grow as the storm hits us more, as days and weeks to come, really, because of the power outages, the wind and heavy rain that is expected around the triangle. So again, Governor Roy Cooper is coming in here. He's going to speak to media around 11 a.m. We will bring you that, and we will let you know what their plan is moving forward to help keep people safe during Hurricane Florence. For now, reporting inside the EOC, I'm Bridget Condon. Back to you guys.
Bridget, thank you. Actually, we have a little preview of what the governor is going to say, because he spoke to ABC News not too long ago. Yeah. He's asking folks to stay in their homes, get up to a higher floor if you're in a situation where there's going to be flooding. From 750,000 to 1 million people, he says, have evacuated from their homes. At least 100 people have been rescued from New Bern, and the storm surge means that these rivers are going to continue to overflow. In fact, one of the officials in New Bern said that the high tide in New Bern is about 12 noon, so they're very concerned about that.
Sure. Something we've also been watching are the effects and impact in Wilmington, which is, of course, right over the sound from Wrightsville Beach, where Hurricane Florence made landfall at 7:15 this morning. Omar Jimenez with ABC News is in Wilmington right now. He filed this report from there.
Hurricane Florence has officially made landfall here in North Carolina, bringing with it sustained winds of 90 miles per hour. Now, even before we got to that point, more than 200 overnight rescues from people trapped in their homes, people in distress, and it's exactly part of the reason why officials wanted people to evacuate and not try to ride this storm out.
There it goes. There goes the lights.
Hurricane Florence is just beginning to carve out a path of destruction.
This is weeks. If this thing sits on top of us, it'll be a few days before the storm is over, but recovery will be weeks and months.
Florence is making its way on shore at a snail's crawl, bringing with it a potential 10 trillion gallons of rainfall.
We'll have an initial problem with flooding due to the storm surge, and then the river flooding and the creeks and streams we're worried about. That's an issue we're going to face.
In the town of New Bern, North Carolina, flooding began shortly after the first outer bands of the storm hit.
In a matter of seconds, my house was flooded up to the waist, and now it's to the chest, and we are stuck in the attic.
By early Friday morning, more than 100 people who didn't heed warnings to evacuate have been rescued from their homes, according to the New Bern mayor, and more were awaiting rescue.
We've had, I would say, probably over 500 calls. We're going to get in here and just start some rescues as soon as he gets here. In the meantime, we're staging up.
And according to officials up and down the Carolina coast, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
We were told to evacuate because we did. You can prep all you want, but you can't prep for something like this.
And enduring the wall of Hurricane Florence here, the eye wall, we have lost a piece of our roof. We had the balcony of our hotel break apart in places. But even as bad as that has been, the wind is not expected to be the most destructive portion of this storm. That will come from the rain that has already started and not expected to end until at least the end of the weekend, and storm surge that could top 13 feet by the time this is all said and done. Reporting live from Wilmington, North Carolina, I'm Omar Jimenez.
That report taped not too long ago.
An area that was hit especially hard by the flooding during Hurricane Matthew were our friends down in Lumberton. The Lumber River was in major flood stage for days. That could happen again.
Let's go to Gloria Rodriguez. She is right by the river. She has an update for us. Gloria?
Yes, as you mentioned, that is a major concern here in Lumberton today, that they could have flooding again, similar to what they saw during Hurricane Matthew. Check this out. Right here is the Lumber River, and of course that was a big concern during Hurricane Matthew when the river overflowed its banks, and of course we got a lot of flooding here in Lumberton. Much of the town underwater at that time, and now we're told that they could see rain up to 20 inches of rain here in Lumberton. So we do have some footage that we've been shooting throughout the morning here, just to give you an idea that we are monitoring the river levels here. Now, one of the things that I find pretty interesting right now is that as we've been driving around town, there are quite a few people who are still in the area, and a lot of people that I've talked to say they personally were affected by Hurricane Matthew. We just talked to one man who says he actually had a take a canoe to get out of his house during Hurricane Matthew. But despite all that, they say that they wanted to ride out the storm here in Lumberton. They say this is their home, and of course they are worried that something similar could happen this time around with Hurricane Florence, but they are hopeful that that does not occur. And back here live right now, what we're seeing is just more rain at this time. Earlier we had some pretty strong wind gusts, but right now again it's just the rain, and that's what everybody's worried about, that we could get up to 20 inches of rain here in Lumberton. So we will continue to keep you updated on what's going on here. Back to the studio.
All right, Gloria, thank you.
Gloria Rodriguez reporting from Lumberton. We can talk to Steve Stewart about exactly what they are going through now as far as where the Lumber River is right now and where it's going to go in the next 36, 48 hours.
Yeah, let's think back to Matthew, too, for a second. It was a unique situation as Matthew never came on shore, number one. Number two, there was a stalled front over the sandhills, which helped give the lift and squeeze out that 10 to 15 inches of rain. But we had about 10 inches of rain the week before with a unique setup. So the ground was already 100% saturated. So we're going to get some infiltration in the soil in the beginning, but no question, I think we're going to have major flood stage for at least a few days along the Lumber River.
Maybe till Tuesday?
You're probably getting up there at Sunday, peaking Sunday, and could last through Tuesday or Wednesday. So it all depends on how much rain, not only do they get, but how much do we get that all is going to be flowing in that direction. All right, let's get right to it and get the details for you on Florence right now. Let's take weather one if we could. I think that's weather three, but weather one is where we're talking about with, again, the storm onshore. It's half of the storm, maybe more than half of the storm now onshore, so a lot of friction. It's going to be weakening. That's what we like. It's away from its fuel source, which is the ocean, but the rain is going to continue. That is our concern now, and power outages. We're still going to have strong wind gusts, but as it's on land, we're going to see that gradient, the pressure gradient, start to relax as this storm weakens. But we've got at least 30 hours of gusty winds to get through with a really, really slow moving storm. Winds at 85 miles an hour, still moving at 6 miles an hour with a little southwesterly jog. It was moving due west. And look at the history of this, how it's been kind of just wobbling along as it got closer to the coastline. The path takes it near Myrtle Beach by 2 o'clock in the morning. That's not a lot of distance there. And then by 2 in the afternoon, continued to weaken, but still not that far away. And we're on the right-hand side of the storm, and it's still going to be pulling up all this moisture off the ocean and throwing it up our way. So the farther south you are, the heavier rain you're going to get. And we'll break that down here in a second. As you see, it moves across the mountains as a remnant low with very heavy rainfall. Could have flooding concerns in our mountains, Boone, and then eventually all the way up to Pittsburgh, and then really starting to accelerate. So the high pressure that we had in place gave us the steering and pushed it towards the west. If you lose the steering currents, then the storm is going to stall or really slow down. And that's pretty much is what happened is we lost that steering current, a little bit of wobble going on, a new area high pressure building in, starting to push the storm to the south, and it's going to move around this area of high pressure. So to the south, up to the mountains, and around this high. They are at the mercy of the steering currents, hurricanes are. So that's the upper level wind pattern that we're seeing now. Where you see these pink shades, these are tornado warnings, not in our viewing area right now, but most of the area from the triangle to the west right now, anyway, in a tornado watch that's in effect until 5 p.m. and likely will be extended. And I think it's going to move to the sandhills too as that storm continues to move to the west. If you get in a tornado warning, we'll let you know. These are typical quick hitters, EF0s or EF1s, but can still do a lot of damage. You want to get away from the second story if you're in a warning, and most damage occurs on that second story. Get downstairs if you can, and of course if you're in a one-story home, you don't have to worry about it, but get to the interior, avoid the windows, go to the lowest floor in the house, interior hallway or bathway, and cover your head if you can. So that's what we want you to do when these tornado warnings are issued, because again, fast hitters in a quick burst of wind at 100+ miles an hour can cause a lot of damage. There's those warnings again. You can see just how much moisture still wrapping around, and that onshore push is continuing. So we're getting that surge still. Even though the storm has moved onshore, that storm surge is going to continue for at least the next 12 to 18 hours, although it will be getting a little bit weaker. Look at some of these bands setting up. Where you see this yellow shade, it is coming down in sheets right now. Incredibly heavy rainfall, really accumulating accumulating too. So all these counties, Wayne, Wilson, Johnston, Harnett, Cumberland, Sampson, all these areas, flash flood warning right now. If it's not flooding, it will soon. It's imminent. And you can see where the heaviest rain has happened so far. Big difference from our northern counties right now. We're not a lot. Some of the areas, Doppler estimates up to an inch. But once you get down here, already 3-4 inches of rainfall and accumulating quickly as we continue seeing bands coming in. Look at predictor, taking us all the way through the afternoon. Really heavy bands coming in. And you see the theme here. The farther south, that's where it's setting up. The farther north, not even close to the amount. So we're going to see a big gradient between lighter rain amounts and incredibly heavy rain amounts as you move to the south. There's 8 p.m. Really heavy bands continue to set up, and again, mainly in the Sandhills, even across Wake County. We could have a 5-inch difference in our northern part of the county all the way down to the southern part of Wake County. So quite a gradient, I think, in that rainfall. And these showers that come by, there's really no break. You get one after the other. So once the ground is saturated, the rain has nowhere to go, and so you get the flash flooding. And I think we're going to see a lot of this over the next 36 hours. So most of us in a flash flood watch, except our extreme northern counties where they're just not getting that persistent heavy rain. And again, these red areas showing where all the flash flood warnings currently are. So from this point on, let's take a look at what the models are suggesting. And don't really focus on the numbers, focus on the contour, because it really shows that gradient. This is the Euro, significantly heavier rain to the south. GFS model, excessively similar, right? The North American model, very similar. Our in-house NAM model, come on, contour, there you go. Very similar. So again, the models are coming into agreement, so it makes it a little bit, you get the confidence goes up when we do that forecast of heaviest rain, really significant to the south. Now let's talk about Cape Fear and Lumber River. We were just talking about that with Joel, Lumberton. Flood stage is only at 12 feet. It's at 7 now, so it does have about 5 feet to go. But forecast to crest on Sunday at 24 feet. Now you factor that in for about 3 days. That's how it's looking now. And this is all subject to change, because if we do get more rain than we think, then I think these numbers are going to go up. And also the farther north we get heavier rain, it goes into those tributaries, and those little rivers fill up to the big river, and you get the idea. Huskalock, that's in southern Cumberland County. Flood stage is at 41 feet, 34 right now. It's going to go up Tuesday to 58 feet. Here's some other rivers. The Neuse River around Smithfield. Troubles obviously last year in Goldsboro too. Flood stage 14, it's only about 6.7. Should crest Monday at 18.5. And then in Goldsboro at 17 is flood stage. You're at 7. You have a long way to go. But again, expected to crest by Tuesday at around 23 feet. So a lot of flooding. One more, Cape Fear and Little River. Little River in Manchester, bad last year, of course. 17-foot flood stage, now at about 9.6, going to get up to 25.6. And into Fayetteville, 34-foot flood stage, should be going up quickly. It's about 12 feet now, but by Wednesday, forecast to crest at 52.3 feet. So that is an incredible amount of river flooding going on. And then it's the same scenario closer to the coast, but those are some of the rivers in our area. Elevated impacts around Roxborough, Oxford, South Hill, and Norlina. Lesser amounts of rain, not as much wind. Again, as we go south, the severity goes up. So Durham, Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Butner, and Wake Forest, I've got 5 to 10 inches of rain. Lesser amounts north, closer to 10 inches when you get farther to the south. Gusts at 35 to 45 miles an hour. Southern Wake County down to Lillington, Holly Springs included in that. Sanford, Smithfield, Wilson, even Wendell. Maybe heavier rain, 10 plus, maybe up to 15. Winds could get up to 50 miles an hour. And once we get down to our Sandhills, this is the extreme impacts here. This is we're talking gusts to near 70, rain at 15 to 20 inches, and sustained winds for a time could be upwards of around 40 to times maybe 50 miles an hour. So gusts today so far, Wilmington, the second highest gust ever recorded, 105 miles an hour today. Fort Macon, 99. Emerald Isle at 80. Kinston, 64. Jacksonville, 81. Cape Hatteras, only at 55 miles an hour, considering the other numbers a lot higher. These are all auto. This shows the highest ones through the last 24 hours. Clinton at 48, Goldsboro 43, Sanford at 44, RDU highest gust so far at 40 miles an hour, but Fayetteville over 50 miles an hour. So you see this yellow shade, That's a tropical storm force winds. We'll take you through time all the way through the day today. We're still in it, so it's going to be a long period of this gusty winds. That means a lot of trees can go down, and that's when we're going to have major issues with power outages. You're already hearing about all the power outages now there with the news department. And then as we get down into Fayetteville and Lumberton, still, this is tomorrow morning, and then let's take you all the way through the afternoon. Potential for tropical storm winds, lesser chances for that farther to the south, and then the storm is really starting to weaken, so the winds will go down fairly quickly. So your numbers today will be in the 70s, windy, heavy rain, flooding rains tonight. That continues in the 70s, gusty winds, but there is some good news. We're going to be seeing an end to this. Likely just showers around on Sunday, Monday and Tuesday, small little chances for showers. And then full sun as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, looking brighter too, and we're going to start to dry things out. But even when we're seeing Florence long gone, the issue is going to be river flooding for days.
Yeah, it can be sunny in those rivers in the flood stage, and we're still seeing major
That's
impact.
right, yeah.
All right, thank you, Steve. We've got some more video we want to show you now just into us in our newsroom. First of all, pictures from Wake Forest, and we're going to have a tree limb on top of a home. I don't know, is that the right one there?
Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it. All right. Producer, you're going to have to tell us what this is now because we don't, yeah. All right, let's move to the next one then. We got the Sneads Ferry area, and you see, no, that's not it either. Okay, all right, as we get our video together, we're going to go to another live report. Jonah Kaplan is live in Myrtle Beach, about 180 miles due south of Raleigh. Jonah, you're starting to see the winds pick up there.
John, I think that she's here, and we can't really see the radar from where we're standing, but look, the rain is picking up, the winds are picking up. Look here, just with the seagrass as indicators, you know, everything is kind of leaning all different kinds of ways, and the palm trees as well. Let's walk down to the beach because I want to show you about a half hour ago, you know, what was happening was the wind was, you know, almost pushing the water out of the way. The west winds were pushing the ocean back to create kind of this ultra low tide, and in the last 20 minutes we've seen the water level come closer now, probably about at least 10 to 15 feet as we got closer. And I don't know if you could see, look at this bird that's trying to struggle in that wind. Wow, and you can see how powerful it is because the wind not just blowing the sand out of the way, but again blowing that water. But the rain is starting to come down now, and look, anyone who's been to Myrtle Beach knows this is usually a bustling area. You've got hotels, you've got restaurants, you've got attractions, you've got golf courses, and this place has been quiet. I hate to use the word ghost town because that would imply that no one is here, but people are here, they're just inside and staying inside. There was a curfew that was mandated, started 7 o'clock last night through 7 o'clock this morning. It's going to happen again tonight and into tomorrow and perhaps through the weekend. But certainly conditions are changing now. The surf visibility, that's definitely down. And again, the water is moving closer. This probably is about normal low tide levels. High tide expected around noon, and normal high tide really could reach these fences here right before the dunes. But if you get a 6 to 9 foot storm surge and then another maybe 10 to 14 inches of rain on top of that, you're looking at the water very easily going into South Ocean Boulevard over here and potentially into the first floor of many of these hotels and condo buildings. National Weather Service around 8:30 this morning issuing that flash flood warning, and just now again visibility going down, the rain picking up, and also that surf starting to come in. We're going to be watching this very closely over the next several hours. John, Barbara.
Jonah Kaplan live at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Thank you. I think we got that video now we were telling you about. Let's go to the first one. Pictures from Wake Forest, and there you see that large tree limb on a home. Unfortunately, we can expect to see more and more of scenes like this.
Yeah, Anne-Marie Davis sent us this picture, or Lori Thomas rather, I should say. Let's go down to Sneads Ferry in Onslow County. Sneads Ferry has been under the gun since last night. A tree limb falling there, just narrowly missing a truck and a mobile home. You can see it stretched there across that driveway along the fence. Pictures showing some trees leaning precariously in the yard. Another tree blocking what appears to be a driveway. way in the road. But Sneads Ferry has seen some tremendous wind gusts through the night that continue there this morning.
And a viewer from Belhaven sent us pictures from their home security camera, their home security system. You see the gradual rising in the water here. And keep your eye on the white structure on the left side and the red item at the center of your screen. First 3 photos were taken roughly an hour apart yesterday. The 4th one is this morning, and you see quite a difference there.
Time-lapse camera on your home security system. We're thinking about you in Belhaven. More new video coming in right now. This is the rescue effort that is ramping up in New Bern. This is video of an urban search and rescue team. They are from New York. They are from the New York Task Force 1. They're made up of 18 personnel from the FDNY and the NYPD as well. They have been staged at an airfield in Kinston, and they're now moving into New Bern. They have been experiencing deploying to Maria, Irma, Harvey. These men, these women, they have experience, and we are right there along with them, and we are going to be getting updates through the day as rescues get underway. Swiftwater rescue teams on the move in New Bern, and we've seen dozens and dozens of swiftwater rescues. When I say swiftwater, swiftwater, the current is strong in New Bern right now, and really giving a headache to a lot of these rescue teams.
We're happy to see them come.
Oh, absolutely.
They are welcome.
What did the governor say today? We're seeing teams from 19 different states helping North Carolina right now.
Yes, all right, you're welcome. Have some barbecue while you're here.
Sure.
All right, well, through the storm, we have seen some incredible video. The place to see it all is at ABC11.com and on the ABC11 app. Here are just some of the sights and sounds from Wilmington, New Bern, and Belhaven, where the storm has been doing damage for hours now. Much more at ABC11.com or on the ABC11 app.
Right now, let's go back to New Bern, where Julie Wilson is mic'd up, and I think she's got some new information, a new interview. Julie, can you hear us? What do you have?
Yeah, Joel, I don't quite have that new interview yet, but we just saw volunteer rescuers with their boats heading out that way, and that is where we're going to be going to. They're going to the fire department. Hey, Jeff, while you're on that, go ahead and show them what is down. The wind's so strong that it has knocked down that stoplight. Joel, I want to make sure you can see that. And then if Jeff will pan up, look at that Twin Rivers Mall sign. Do you know where that is at right now? It is in this bank parking lot. I'm going to show you what else we're seeing in this parking lot, Joel, there. Here's the sign. That just blew from there, but power lines like this, the glass shattered on the ground. That is a power pole, and Joel, I'm telling you, this is not the biggest one that we have seen here in this parking lot. Look right over there. Do you see by that red tow truck? If you see that big old monster power line there with the 4 lines. We've seen at least 2 of those down here in this parking lot. This Twin Rivers Mall is where we've been seeing a lot of the boats come in. The rain has just really picked up. Had to clean off my glasses a little bit. The rain in this area is just really picked up, and so is the wind. It is just pushing around at points. It seems calm now, but right before we were on camera, we were hustling and a bustling. It was almost like, Joel, you were running with a wind parachute behind you. You know that you see those football players do for cardio strength? It's exactly what it felt like when you're running in this, walking in this. Over in that area, Jeff, I don't think you'll be able to see it, but behind there, we did see a power crew going through. In some of these winds, they were up in their little tower. They were clearing out the lines, trying to keep the trees from falling down on the power lines, and no doubt they will be doing that here. Earlier, we spoke to the Mayor Pro Tem, and she told us that power is out in this area. Look at that right over there. That wind's starting to pick up portions of the Michaels roof. I just heard it pop. That's what caught my attention. It sounds like it is 10. So that's what we're keeping an eye on right here. So far, though, the good news is this. We have not had any reports of injuries. That's the good news here in New Bern. But of course, this storm is not over, and we are expecting a storm surge to come in at around noon, because we saw the waters over by the Trent River go out where they had previously been up. We saw them go out, and so when will those come back in? That's the big question, but rescues are still going on. We spoke to the Cajun Navy earlier this morning, still working to get an official update. But when we talked to them this morning, just around 5 o'clock, they said they'd already had 500 calls of people who needing help. And they were also reporting that some of those people were stuck on their roofs, that the waters were up to the house. We were getting ready to head over to the DoubleTree Hotel. We've not been able to get over there because one of these crews said you have to have a boat right now. That's just where it's at, the DoubleTree Hotel. But we did talk to the fire department, and they told us they've done somewhere around 125 rescues. Some of those rescues, Joel, are little kids. So some parents trying to get their babies out of the storm before the floodwaters come in. And it is just really a sight to see in some of these places, Joel.
It is a sight to see. Julie Wilson out there battling the elements. Julie, stick with us for a second. Big Weather sends you a shout out for wearing your eye protection out there. Nice job. You're getting a hand here in the studio. Safety first. Talk to me again real quick about the swiftwater rescues. We just saw one of those teams from the from FDNY and NYPD going through the streets of New Bern. Have you seen any of that firsthand, or are you just hearing reports?
No, we're just hearing reports. That's actually where we're headed to after we wrap up this here. But they did have a safety meeting with volunteers, members of the Cajun Navy, members of the fire department, warning those folks to do not go out on your own. Don't go out rogue on this. They want to stay in contact with the folks who are out there doing the rescuing. That way they don't need to be rescued. And they were also talking about electrical lines. Watch out for that. And they were also telling people to be careful of those submerged areas because, Joel, you simply don't know what is underground. I'm telling you, we've seen some bizarre things that have washed up in this whole city here in New Bern. They have bears, like concrete bears is the best way to describe them. They're concrete blocked. We saw one of those in the middle of a street. It was up to the bare waist, if you will, in the middle of the street. And I was talking with one guy, and he said, I have no clue how it got out there, and there was no way he was going to wade out and get it. It just would not been a safe idea. So, no, we have not seen one of those water rescues, but look at that right there, just pulling in. That is a member of Truck Club with his boat there, and undoubtedly he will be going out on one of these rescues. These are the crews that we saw out here earlier coming out and clearing these some of those tree lines. Those guys out here working, trying to be safe, waving there for us. Hopefully they will remain safe out in this. We have seen some people out earlier this morning. We saw some folks walking their dog, and keep in mind this city is under a curfew. I know you got to take the dog out, but you got to be careful in this.
Yes, you do. You don't want to get hit by one of those huge tree limbs that are just coming down by the minute out there. Julie Wilson, you be careful too. Put your eye protection back on. Make us all feel a little better. Julie Wilson live in New Bern. There you go. Thank you, Julie. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to show you a live picture now from the Emergency Operations Center. Just an empty podium you see there, but at 11 o'clock, Governor Roy Cooper and other state officials will be there to give us a briefing and to update us on preparations and how things are going. Right now, we have a report of about 475,000 people in North Carolina without power. That number expected to rise as the hours go on today.
Yeah, about 750,000 people to 1 million have been evacuated from their homes. This is the response that they are coordinating from the Emergency Operations Center in West Raleigh. At least 100 people have been rescued just from New Bern. We heard Julie talking about that. The storm surge that is meeting these rivers is causing many of them to overflow from their banks. We've had several live reports from there. That's our own Charlie Mickens there doing a mic check at the EOC. Charlie, thank you. 19 states are helping in the search and rescue efforts, helping North Carolina. We can't say enough about them. Certainly, North Carolina swiftwater rescue teams and first responders have gone to their fair share of different states all across this country, helping in different natural disasters. So these folks from 19 different states returning the favor. And there are some folks there with what looks like the Cajun Navy helping them out from some flooding there in Riverbend in Craven County, which is underwater right now. About 20,000 people in 156 different shelters across the state. So after these swiftwater rescue teams make it to these homes and get these people into those boats, they're going to need a safe and dry place to stay. They are being housed in 156 different shelters in North Carolina.
Yeah, and if you want to help out, there will be plenty of opportunities in the days and weeks to come because these folks are going to need water, clothing, and shelter, and all kinds of repair work to be done. So stay tuned. We'll have much more on how you can help out the people who are impacted by Hurricane Florence,
which is making its very slow crawl across the North Carolina coast right now. Don's here to give us an update.
Yeah, unfortunately, this thing is moving maybe 5-6 miles an hour, and that just allows that rain to keep coming and keep coming. We'll look at some of the rainfall totals in our area in just a moment. Let's show you the latest watches and warnings first. Tornado watch in effect for the I'd say at least half of our viewing area. It does include the city of Raleigh, Wake County, Harnett County, up into Franklin County, and then as we go into Nash, Rocky Mount, Wilson, Edgecombe County, Johnston County, Wayne County, and Sampson County. The purple area off to the east, that is a tornado warning, not in our area, but we will be watching for some of that possible rotation to work in as we go through the day. Let's show you what's going on as far as the flash flood watch and warnings. The watch covers almost the entire state. That hasn't happened in my time here, where almost the entire state's covered by a flash flood watch, but we could see flash flooding in any of the green counties. That does include Wake County. Now, we have flash flood warnings. The newest ones issued are until 4 o'clock. Harnett County and Cumberland County. It's just starting to rain heavily there, but we know what's coming. And because of that, the National Weather Service has issued flash flood warning now from Lillington to Fayetteville, including Fort Bragg, all under that flash flood warning until 4 o'clock. We have Johnston County, Clayton, Smithfield, Bentonville. You're under a flash flood warning until 2:45 this afternoon. Wilson and Wayne counties under a flash flood warning until 2 o'clock this afternoon. And also Sampson County and Bladen counties under a flash flood warning until 1:15, and we will be watching that possibly extended with the heavy rainfall. First, we look where the eye is. Live look at First Alert Doppler right now. We're looking at the radar site out of Morehead City because it's a little further away, so it can show us where. Right now, the radar site for Wilmington's right about there, and this thing's right on top of it, and it's just not putting out much data. But heavy rain from Oak Island back to south and west of Wilmington, then up toward Rocky Point. That's where the heavier showers are. There's North Topsail on there. Topsail had the eye over them about 7 o'clock this morning, made landfall 7:15. Now, here's the problem. So here's the leading edge of the rain. You can see this is a loop over the past. We end at 10:50. We about the last hour. This has barely moved from about here to here. That's it. And we're going to see, as the storm system works down to the south, those showers continuing to pound, especially our southern counties. Zoom down in, heaviest rain in our area right now from Goldsboro to Smithfield to Bentonville into Johnston County. And then on to the south of that, we're seeing the heavier rainfall as well. We look at what's happening as far as rainfall totals. Now, this isn't rainfall total, this is rainfall rate. So how hard is it raining right this second? And when you look, a heavy rainfall is 1 inch per hour. That's a heavy rainfall. Look at down here just north of Bentonville, 2.5 inches rainfall per hour. There's 2.5 inches falling per hour down in Goldsboro. Those are some huge rainfall amounts for how hard it's raining. This is a thick soaking rain, and that's why we have the flash flood warnings. Now we'll zoom it out. These are storm totals. So as the radar not only tells us where the rain is, and it can tell us where tornadoes are starting to spin up, but the third thing it can do is it can keep track of how much rain is falling. If you're seeing hail in storms, that can throw off your Doppler radar estimates. But when it's not hailing, and this is a warm core storm, so we're not seeing any hail with it, these totals can be fairly accurate. And in just north of Goldsboro, 4.2 inches of rainfall so far since the rain started falling. Sampson County, 2.5 inches of rain. Johnston County, 3.5 inches of rain. And 5.5 inches as you get into northern, just off to the north and east of Goldsboro. Here's the latest update. This is the 11 a.m. update. We just got it in, and this is an auto update, so I'll center this so it's a little bit centered. But you can see Hurricane Florence, maximum sustained winds at 80 miles an hour. It is down another 5 miles an hour. Still a hurricane, Category 1 hurricane. It has been moving to the south and to the west out of Wilmington, following the coast. So let's see where their path takes it. Their path turns it off to the west. Notice this is 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So between now, about 10 o'clock, so we're talking about 22 hours, 21 hours from now through tomorrow morning. It does drop to tropical storm strength, but it could be, it looks like tomorrow morning it will be in South Carolina, the center of this. The further south this goes, that means it will pull the heavier rain away. I don't want Florence to go through Florence. It's bad news for the Florence, South Carolina area. But the further south it goes, it takes that rainfall from us. Now, by Saturday night at 8 o'clock, we see it out here along this line, and then we'll zoom it out. You can see this system pulls it up to the north and up through Pittsburgh and western Pennsylvania. As far as the tropical winds, what do we think they're going to be like over the next couple of days? This is a look at the hurricane winds. You'll see by 11 o'clock tonight, the model now taking the hurricane winds out of North Carolina, so we will lose the highest winds. That's good. We don't want them. We still see tropical storm force winds, though, at 11 o'clock tonight in Raleigh and points south. Now, as we go through the day tomorrow, and this starts to pull away, by tomorrow morning, and by midday, we should be done with the high wind, the highest winds in the Wake County. We still could see winds down through Cumberland County and down into Lumberton. And then as we go tomorrow night, it pulls out of the region. So I don't think the tropical storm winds will be a factor. By this time tomorrow, we'll see them moving out. And Saturday, we should get rid of those tropical storm force winds. Still a possibility, though, of hurricane force winds. Because of that, National Weather Service continues to extend its hurricane warning for Wayne County, Sampson County, and Bladen County. Tropical storm warnings continue to extend for Tarboro, Lewisburg, Wilson, Smithfield, Raleigh, Siler City, into Lillington, Lee County, Sanford, Moore County, Pinehurst, Rayford, and Hope County, Fayetteville, and on down into Lumberton. Look at the wind gusts coming into the region. These are the ones being reported just in the past 15 minutes. Fayetteville now seeing wind gusts in the 50-mile-an-hour range. RDU's made it up to 40. The last report was 36, 38 in Irwin, 39 in Southern Pines, 29 in Oxford, and 18 in South Hill, Virginia for our wind gusts across the area. Here are the highest wind gusts we've seen around our state today. Wilmington had 105-mile-an-hour wind gusts. That happened earlier this morning. Fort Macon, 99. Emerald Isle reported an 80-mile-an-hour wind gust. Kinston, 64. Jacksonville, 81. Cape Hatteras, Outer Banks actually getting away from the tropical storm force wind, or the hurricane force storm winds. Clinton, 48 miles an hour. Goldsboro, 43. Wilson, 45. Fayetteville has gone to 52 now, and our highest wind gusts in Wake County so far, 40 miles per hour. We're looking at some of the wind gusts off the coast, and you can see along the coast 78-mile-an-hour winds in some of the buoys there. Some of those have dropped, though. That's good news. How much rain will we see? Still looking at 20 inches down in the Sandhills, possibly from Bladen to Robeson County, 10 to 15 in Cumberland County, 5 to 10 in Siler City, and 3 to 5 in Roxboro. Look at this picture coming to us from Fayetteville. The rain is there. The winds are gusting. Look at our wind. Northeast at 38, but we've seen those gusts going 40 miles an hour. There's a good shake in the camera from those winds. Only a quarter of an inch of rain so far, but we will see those winds picking up. Yeah, Steve? Okay. Real quick, he's going to switch to one other camera, and then we'll wrap it up from the Weather Center. But let's check one of our other cameras real quick and see what one of our other readings coming in right now. There's a live look. How about that? That is coming to us. Is that Wrightsville? That's Atlantic Beach. So that is a live look at Atlantic Beach. We don't have a weather station there, but we have a camera there. And that's where? That's Wrightsville. Things have calmed down a little bit in Wrightsville. Some blue skies working through, but they will see more rain in the Wrightsville area. We'll keep watching for a possible tornadoes as we go through the afternoon.
It's been interesting to see as the storm itself has been downgraded. That's just the wind, but the rainfall totals, they're staying the same.
They have not changed. We still could see that heavy rain all the way through tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the dangerous part.
We heard the police chief at Wrightsville Beach say not too long ago that preliminarily looks not so bad at Wrightsville.
Yeah.
All right.
Other areas could suffer.
More to come.
We are standing by right now for a live update from the governor at the top of the hour from the Emergency Operations Center in West Raleigh. The governor, FEMA, and local emergency management officials coming up after the break.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Want to check again, Barbara?
1, 2, 1, 2. Hurricane Florence drenching the coast and beyond. Right now, you're looking at brand new videos showing the Cajun Navy rescuing a man from floodwaters in New Bern.
Oh, my.
Wow, these incredible and unnerving scenes playing out since before sunrise. This morning, Cajun Navy telling us they got more than 500 calls for rescues in the New Bern area.
Poor gentleman, hope he's okay.
I know. Good morning. I'm Barbara Gibbs. Again, the Cajun Navy, if you've never heard of it, is a group of private boat owners who will go out and rescue folks in situations like this.
We are continuing our coverage of Hurricane Florence. Governor Roy Cooper is preparing to speak at any minute on the hurricane from the Emergency Operations Center. This is what's happening now all across New Bern. First responders are evacuating residents of the River Bend community by boat. It's a slow process, taking people one by one through the floodwaters. More than 100 rescues so far there, according to Governor Cooper, and nearly 500,000 people across the state without power.
All right, first, let's get a check of what's happening with Florence. Meteorologist Don Schwinneker is in the First Alert Storm Center with the latest. Don.
Okay, John, Barbara, good morning, and good morning to you. Let's talk about what we're seeing first as far as the watches and warnings. Actually, let's go to Governor Cooper now. He's standing by live at the Emergency Operations Center with the
powerful, slow, and relentless. It's an uninvited brute who doesn't want to leave. The storm surge alone has overwhelmed the city of New Bern. Overnight, there are over 100 swiftwater rescues in this great city, and we expect more. Other cities and counties across North Carolina are facing challenges and will continue to face challenges over the next few days and weeks. The eye of the storm made landfall on the North Carolina coast near Wrightsville Beach at 7:15 a.m. this morning. And we've seen wind gusts in Wilmington as high as 105 miles an hour, the highest recorded since 1958. The sun rose this morning on an extremely dangerous situation, and it's getting worse. The storm is going to continue its violent grind across our state for days and be a major inland event as well. To those in the storm's path, if you can hear me, please stay sheltered in place. Do not go out in this storm. The Weather Service says flash flooding will be extreme and flood waters will come up quickly and seemingly out of nowhere. We face multiple threats. Storm surge pounding our beaches, pushing seawater into rivers and flooding homes and other structures. Rainwater and surge are forcing sounds and rivers over their banks. Roads across eastern North Carolina are underwater. Right now, our predictions show that the Lumber and Cape Fear rivers will crest significantly higher than they did with Hurricane Matthew. Other rivers will have significant flooding as well. And remember that rivers will keep on rising for days, even after the rain stops. Stay alert for evacuation notices around these rivers and leave if you are told to. Otherwise, stay indoors and off the roads. Don't put your life or the lives of emergency responders in danger. Here are updates since our last briefing. Right now we have about 500,000 North Carolinians without power, concentrated in Carteret, Onslow, Craven, Pender, New Hanover, and Brunswick counties. That number is rising even as we speak. Utility crews from all over the country are standing by to restore power when it's safe for them to be out. We have approximately 20,000 or so people in 157 shelters. That number fluctuates. More shelters will be set up. High winds will pick up through central North Carolina today, putting trees, homes, and power lines at risk. We've seen storm surge as high as 10 feet on the Neuse River. And we're also seeing flooding along Bogue Sound at Beaufort, the Trent River, the Pungo River at Belhaven, the Pamlico River at Washington, and Pamlico Sound. Rivers are rising to dangerous levels. And the relentless rains will continue through the weekend. For some parts of southeastern North Carolina, one forecast shows a 1,000-year rain event. Rescue crews are working in risky, dangerous conditions that will only get worse today. Don't put them or yourself at risk. Stay indoors. Don't drive through water. Never use a generator indoors. Don't fly drones in a disaster area. If you do, rescue helicopters will have a difficult time operating. Be alert and listen to the radio for warnings about wind, tornadoes, rising water, or orders to shut off gas, water, and power. Here at the State Emergency Operations Center and at locations around the state, experts are staging supplies and equipment. They're standing up shelters for people in need. They're continuing to share critical flood mapping information so local officials can pinpoint where the next evacuations may be needed. Shelter information is available at the Ready NC app or on our website or by dialing 211. Individuals using video relay service for the deaf and hard of hearing should dial 888-892-1162, and we're grateful to have Monica McGee here using American Sign Language. If you have an emergency, call 911. We're tracking the storm around the clock, and we are in touch with local officials in areas bearing the brunt of the storm. I just talked to the mayor of New Bern, in fact. Teams will be ready to get them what they need to help their communities through this challenging time. We are expecting several more days of rain, and our focus now is getting people away from immediate danger. And then we will shift into putting our communities back together. The storm is wreaking havoc on our state, and we're deeply concerned for farms, for businesses, for schools, and even whole communities which could be wiped away. But I know North Carolinians, and we're going to make it through this because we're going to stick together and we're going to work together. We have had so many people calling in, texting us, asking us if there is a way that they can contribute. Our office has activated the North Carolina Disaster Relief Fund, which has been used in previous disasters. Visit rebuildnc.gov to contribute, or you can text Florence to 20222 if you would like to help. We have a strong team that's been working hard. This team includes local emergency operations centers and personnel there. It includes the state people, private, nonprofit, federal officials who are here with us in the emergency operations centers. We are grateful for all of the help. We have with me on my far right the Secretary of the Department of Public Safety, Eric Cooks. Next to him is Emergency Management Director Mike Sprayberry. Next to him is Dr. Mandy Cohen, the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. We also have directly behind me to my left, Jim Trogdon, the Secretary of the North Carolina Department of Transportation. We have Colonel Glenn McNeil, who is the commander of the North Carolina Highway Patrol. We have Albie Lewis, who is the FEMA coordinating officer, and Gracia Check, who is the FEMA Region 4 director. We also have Major General Greg Lusk of the North Carolina National Guard, and we have with us Peggy Britton of the United States Coast Guard. These are just those standing with me today, but we have more partners all over the state. We'll begin with having a report from Mike Sprayberry of Emergency Management. Mike?
Thank you, Governor. The State Emergency Operations Center continues to operate at a level 1. As the Governor said, the impacts to the state from Hurricane Florence are significant and will continue to be significant. Our operations and logistics teams are on standby to surge into impacted areas after the exit of tropical storm force winds.